That's a. Hi, Michaela. How are you? Good. All right, let's get this party started, right? We usually don't have a few minutes to get settled. We're usually really hustling from that meeting to this meeting. So we are glad to be here tonight, and we're glad you're here with us. We will have our reverence by Board Member Wade Hyde, and then our flag salute and pledge of allegiance by Julie Taylor, Board Member, and then we'll move right into recognitions from Jamie Kent.
Heavenly Father, we're so grateful to be here tonight at our monthly board meeting, and we're grateful for the opportunity to serve as members of the Board of Education. And we ask for thy blessings and inspiration this night, that all the things that we discuss and go over, that we will do our very best to help the students and the staff of the Box Elder School District in every way that we can. We thank thee for thy many blessings and for being able to be a part of this wonderful district and have such wonderful students and staff members throughout our district. And we ask that thou will bless each and every one of them. Please be with us this night, and we say this prayer humbly in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Month we have the ILSC staff that we're going to recognize. So we're going to have Catherine Allen come up, and she's going to receive that for them. Just to tell you a little bit about what the ILSC staff does, the Independent Life Skills Center is what it stands for. They have their school in the basement here of this building. Oh, that's the main floor. This is upstairs. Okay, they're in the main floor, below us. Okay, they're not in the basement. Sorry. Anyway, it's a place where learning is alive and it's meaningful, and they make deep connections to life beyond high school experiences. All of the things they do reflect their mission, which is to develop responsible, productive citizens through a focused, community-based vocational program delivered by caring, knowledgeable staff with high expectations. And they live this mission every day with what they do. So I'm just going to tell you a few things that they do. Students at the ILSC, they go to 2 different job sites and work, or else they go to 1 job site while they're finishing high school credit. They have a place where they can go, a job site.
Each student goes to 2, or they go to a job site and are working on credit for high school.
Yeah, so one
But
or the
often
other.
they go to 2 different job sites.
Yeah. They have 1 job site they can go to where they learn about advertising, and they do videos and they make flyers to showcase things. They have a bakery where they sell really good cookies, and a website that they maintain to advertise that. They have a store that's right out in the front of this building on the upstairs of this building, where they sell things that they make inside of that. They work on detailing vehicles, and they take care of some of our school vehicles. They vacuum and clean it, and they change the oil. Another job site they go to, they make 3D printing things, and then some of those things they sell in this store out here. They do community volunteer with a magician, and they're actually having their first performance on January 16th. And so the magician has been volunteering his time to come work with them, and they're going to help him put on a show. Yeah.
On the main floor of the building
on the main floor.
during the day.
Most of the ILSC students are out in the community at job sites, and some of their job sites are paid, and some of them they do for volunteer. We have community partners that work with us. We have the Bus Barn where they go to change oil, Taco Time, Kent's, Lakeview, the Desert Industries, ACYI. They work in custodial and classroom aides. Duke's, Pioneer Senior Center, McDonald's, AOS, and Wendy's are all places where you will find these students working. Over the past 2 years, we've combined with the Special Olympics, and they've been able to compete in the unified sports. They have a basketball tournament coming up next week on Thursday, Wednesday, the 22nd, Thursday, in Ogden.
At Ben Lomond High School.
Ben Lomond High School.
We compete against other school districts.
So it's
Super
really fun.
fun.
Yeah, and we'll share pictures about that too. We have a group of students that deliver Meals on Wheels, and we also have a dog walking program where they go and walk dogs and clean them, and then I guess that's called groom the dogs. Is that what they do?
Yeah, so the point of most of these job sites is so that when they leave our program, that they can be productive members of society and have jobs on their own. And some of these, such as one of our individuals who does the dog walking, she wants to start her own dog walking business.
And then they're starting to grow plants and sell them. So anyway, so we just want to thank them for all that they do, and they work hard every day, and we appreciate all they do for our students. Okay, thank you.
Where's the bakery? Do they sell cookies in the store, or?
So they have it set up for certain places within our district. So they'll send out an email and say, this is what we have available, and you can order how many. They make like one kind of cookie each week. And so this week it was actually brownies. And so then you can order it and people pay for it. They've set up things where you can pay online now for that, and then they go around, and another job site is learning how to deliver. And if you pay in cash, they're counting back money to make sure you get the right change, and give a receipt if you want a receipt, and some of those kinds of job skills. So yeah, the bakery, when the Bee Bear Bistro was closed, we needed to look at some other opportunities, and so this was an idea. And our students, we certainly can. Okay, awesome. We would love to have you do that. And just for your information, when we say that our students are doing this, they really are. They really are measuring and putting in flour and making the cookies and baking them and learning how to be safe around the ovens and using cash registers and all of that. It really is student-based and student-focused.
Can I ask how many students we're talking about here, like, that are in the program in overall?
We have about 32
32.
this
Well, that's
year.
a lot they're doing with only 30,
They are
like
doing
32
a
kids
lot.
in all these places. I'm like, wow.
And how many staff members?
I don't know.
Okay.
We have 3 teachers, and then we
Okay.
have paraprofessionals.
Paras. Okay. Good. That's awesome. Thank
I
you.
have to tell you, for Christmas, we bought some neighbor gifts from this little store up here. We got so much positive from those. They were the funnest gifts. So they really do some creative, fun things. So.
And the flyers you see, they really are student created. Like, the students are the
Right.
ones creating them. They're the ones advertising and maintaining the website and all of those kinds of things.
Wow.
So
Super.
they're doing great things.
Right.
Mrs. Kent, just in case I missed it while I was thinking while you were talking at the beginning, what age group of students would you give us the age groups of
Yeah.
these?
So these are students who are 18 to 22 years old.
And they're students who are still on an IEP based on, right?
Correct. They still receive services through
Until they're
special
20
education through their 22nd birthday, so could
Awesome.
potentially turn 23, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we're going to do RC recognitions. So we have Shammer Schaefer and Jennifer Winward here. And then if you'll open up, Keith, that picture that's on the link, we have Aubrey Chase, who was not able to be here. So if you guys want to come up, you can stand by me. Okay, so Shamra is our S, which is strengthening PLCs. She's a new team lead at Bear River High School this year, and she has stepped into this position confidently, and she's managed her responsibilities in supporting new teachers. She has effectively guided her team through the 4 PLC questions, and she's ensured a strong focus on the right work and meaningful collaboration that supports student learning. So. And then Aubrey Chase is our E for expanding student connections. Aubrey is a counselor at McKinley Elementary, and she is absolutely crushing it. She is like a social butterfly superhero, they say. Every morning she is roaming the halls, making sure no student is missed. It's like a daily joyful mandatory high five mission. Her student groups are basically the coolest secret clubs at McKinley. When she transforms students into McKinley MVPs. And the whole school feels like she has just leveled up their school culture, and they just want to say she is the best. So Aubrey, I gave hers to her yesterday. So. All right, then Jennifer Winward is our E for Elevate Employee Appreciation. Jennifer does so many things for their staff at Bear River Middle School. She has put together a staff bingo board that she rotates out every couple of weeks. She puts together an advent calendar of doing kind things each day for their staff to do. And she organizes staff parties and get-togethers, and she always has a smile on her face for everyone. So. Anyway, we will have you go shake their hands, and then we'll have you guys come back and stand in front, and we'll take a picture with the board. Okay. Weird if we try to use that one. So we just need to have it say C. Okay.
There you go. That's perfect. Nope. That one.
Yeah, you can just have them. Okay. Yes. Yes, we're going to get that in there too. But I just want it to say C, so. Okay, gotta get away from this microphone. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. And then, if you guys will come over here.
Thank you, Mrs. Kent, and thank you to you teachers that are doing so many great things in our district. We appreciate it. And that is by far the best part of board meeting. Right there is those recognitions. All right, we are to item letter D, and we need an approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, great. We are moving on to public comment, but there is no one on the sign-up sheet. So we will move forward. Okay, first public comment on school fees. Presenter Keith Meekum.
Yes, gone out to all the parents, and they received notification. If they couldn't make it tonight, they could also email me, and I would give you any comments that came. We'll certainly, send out an additional email for February. One of the things I have not heard from anybody, and maybe one of the reasons is our fees are exactly like they were last year, with one exception. And maybe I can just point that. Hold on. Oh, here we go. So, as you know, last year we eliminated class fees. So that was approximately $700,000 that is now being funded through TSSA funds. I had a conversation with our with various schools saying, how are we doing? Are we doing all right? And all of them report right now, no one's feeling like they're at loss. They feel like, those funds that we provided through TSSA are meeting their needs. Not that that couldn't change, but right now everybody feels really positive. The teachers are feeling like they still have what they have, which means, and I just did a little legwork. Last year we had $58,000 plus that were waived through fee waivers, and then the district had to use district funds to go back to the schools for those $58,000 that were waived. Well, this year that is not necessary, so it's kind of a savings from general fund of approximately $58,000. So the only thing really that's different is we have a brand new band teacher at Box Elder High. She comes from the Davis School District, where she participated in significant marching band opportunities and really elevated lots of things that they do that maybe we have not done. So she's developed a lot of excitement. A lot of people are interested. They spend a lot of time during, I gotta say the off season, but summer, marching, practicing, participating in various things. She is proposing $1,000, but it won't be everybody. I mean, she has to put it all, everything's got to be in there. And so you can find it. I've saved maybe the
What was it before fee?
$50, which was basically a t-shirt. So she's looking at more uniforms, a little more formal, and participating in that regard. And if you dig into this, and I can show you again, she's gone into very specific of what it would look like if someone participated in the marching band. It's very itemized, and again, this is all for 26, 27. It's hard to estimate, but she's done, and by the way, I should say her name, Victoria Harker. She's done a really nice job of trying to project needs and desires. Interesting that, again, some of these are very specific, different competitions, etc. So anyway, other than that, all fees are exactly like they were last year. So that may be, anyway, but if there's people in the here that would like to make a comment, certainly open. And I think, do we have to open up a specific for that, or are we just okay to?
I don't think for this.
We can just
we
have
don't
a public
separate-
comment. So
we can-
I guess with that, I'll answer any questions you might have, and then we could open it up to anybody that might have a comment here. Could I just real quickly, I know most of us understand, but for those listening or those here that might wonder why we would waive all those fees, will you just again reiterate why why we went last year and
yeah, thank you.
took out all those fees.
So, first of all, the state legislators CTE courses. And so what would happen is we would say, okay, you want ceramics, that's $40. You want business computer, that's going to be 15. Well, that's how I'll start it. Well, now I want to change classes. And so now if I want the 40, I have to gather money, and we just haven't been doing that for about 25 years. So at the end of the day, we made the decision, let's let everybody have a chance to go to school and take the classes that they want and need. We've worked with Ben Wiley to help support the CTE piece, and they're getting what they received last year. And so and again, we're early in this, and I'll certainly give feedback as we finish out the year when we finally have an analysis of, did we do all right and what changes? The problem is we need to make this decision before that decision can come to the end. But I will promise that we can work all that out, and then we can say we have a shortfall, we don't have a shortfall. But so far the feedback's been kids can take classes regardless of their financial situation, and teachers can get the things that they need so they can provide the curriculum and the resources that they need. So Ben, unless I've misspoke, is there anything, you're not hearing anything crazy from CTE saying we are getting destroyed?
No, I will say this.
I didn't want to speak. Yeah.
I appreciate that. In all of our work, there were only 2 instances where we were informed there was a shortfall. One was a clerical mistake by me and my secretary with an emergency medical response class. That has been resolved. And then another is our Woods teacher on the south end. I worked with the principal, and we've upped that amount under CT. Those are the only 2 teachers that have come back since we did all this work to ensure that our students are getting everything they need without fees.
So the TSSA, 25% of our total amount that we get went across K-12, and elementary is using it for
kindergarten paras to an extent, yeah.
right, and then secondary is using it to offset these class fees that have been going on for several years. So again, family members come August when they go, oh, I've got 3 kids, 3 schools, I've got $300 bill. That did not happen in August. People just enrolled in school and they started. And one thing that I'm in the process of doing, haven't got this finalized yet, and I'll send it out to you just for your information, is the extracurricular. I'm wondering how many people applied for fee waivers, and if our fee waiver percentages went down when class fees were no longer required. I'm going to do that data, and I'll share that with you. But anyway, with all that, there are no changes but the one that you see. And you can maybe discuss that. Our administration, along with Mrs. Harker, have discussed this. Again, these are maximum fees. Just like over here on the left, when you see, cheerleaders are at $1,850 or football's at $800, you can't go over those. And most don't even come near it, but there's sort of a maximum fee that we're required. That's what this is about. So sometimes they're going to put a little higher, again, projecting what the things are going to be 9, 10, 11, 12 months from now might be a little hard. So
Keith,
with that, yes.
the TSSA funds, is that ongoing every year? Or at some point, are we going to have
it started in 2018, and right now it keeps coming. And how many per student, or how that's
How much
funded?
funding?
Yeah, the
like
TSA.
dollars per
Yeah,
student? It was about 134 last
So
year.
we don't
Yeah.
see that going away.
we
No, it
don't
keeps
we don't
going
right
down.
now. Obviously, if it did, then we would have to get in line to say math, science, language arts, health, and social studies would no fees there. But then we could put a fee But we'd have to itemize the fee. We've just done a blanket fee. We'd have to itemize, like, kind of like extracurricular. They're all a little different. Some are the same, but we'd have to do that if that ever happened. Right now, we're fortunate that we don't have to do that.
Keith, can I add that our current school fee system isn't equipped to do fees by class? We would have to have acquired a new system that has that capability, implemented, trained in the high schools, and then integrated that with our financial system and also our credit card processor. So it's a significant lift to implement school fees by class.
I have a question. Well, actually, a couple comments, like the marching band fee. This is something that I have a friend's child who's participating, and it is so exciting. I grew up in a state where we had marching band competitions, and we were state marching band champs. It was a big deal. Like, so it's for these kids that want to be involved in activities and promote those kind of things. I'm really excited about that. The second comment I had was as far as the whatchamacallit, help me out. Anyhow, the fee waiver, but like basically not doing fees the class fee. Thank you. So I had a friend contact me. She's like, we register our kids and I haven't paid the fees. Did I miss something? She's like this was last fall. And I was like, no, that went away. Like I tried to explain. She's like, oh, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we did what we were supposed to. And I said, so I think we communicated as well as we could, but a lot of people don't listen to these board meetings or weren't here for the fee schedule. And so she was pleasantly surprised because she has 4 kids in school. And so suddenly we're like, oh, well, that's good. She's like, I just wanted, and she's so conscientious. She's wonderful. Like, so conscientious. Like, I want to make sure we're doing. But I think that was appreciated. And I haven't talked to a ton of people, but just as a parent, I was like, it was really nice not to have to think about, honestly, especially if we were going to have to do customized class things. So those are the comments I have that I think they've been positive things. And like I said, I think it's good to continue ongoing to get, like, as we gather more data and information to follow up with it.
One other thing I'd like to bring up, and then maybe between Keith and Neil, when the legislature did change the law that we wouldn't have school fees anymore, there was a certain amount of money that was sent that was a 3-year breakdown, and it wasn't going to cover us, but do you know the amount of money we're talking about, Neil?
About $360,000. I would caution, though, that there is a proposal in the legislature to claw that money back for other purposes.
Okay.
So that may be a $0 amount.
But that we did get some of it last year.
That's, well, in the current school year,
Right
right now.
Okay.
So 360 did come,
Yes,
but you're saying that they may want it back?
yes.
We have not used any of it.
Okay.
It's sitting in,
In school fees.
it's considered to be an unrestricted fund, meaning the district can choose how to use that money. Right now, it's sitting in our and we call it our Gen Ed fund balance to be used. We don't have an assigned expense to that right now, but we could use it to cover school fees or whatever the board decides is best for that use.
Okay.
I
I have a
She wants
question.
to make a statement.
Okay, you make a
Just a
statement.
correction.
I think I said $134 a student. I meant $234. It started when I first came to my position. It was like $103 per student. So I think I said 134, but it's now like 234. So it does keep increasing. Anyway, thanks for that.
Go ahead.
So with the fees that we're covering the class fees, not the extracurricular fees. Is that right?
Correct.
Just want to
Now,
make sure.
fee waivers still apply, families that qualify under the rules. And when you'll see this first tab right here, all the documents I have here are still 25, 26. They haven't rolled those over. So although you'll go, well, that doesn't show 26, 27. Those numbers haven't come out. I will update all of that as soon as that comes out. But in terms of our fees, this is extracurricular for the most part are the fees that they can get waived if a family qualifies for a fee waiver.
So, excuse me, it goes along with your question here, Karen. So with the band of $1,000, which I think is awesome, I support that totally. So if a student's parents could not afford that 1,000, then that's when fee waivers would kick in if they
Yeah,
qualify, right?
That's
Okay,
exactly right.
Okay, to help with that. Okay, sorry, Karen.
No, just kind of to piggyback off that. What is our fee waiver percentage at this point?
Well, generally we're about, it's a little depending on school, and that's, I was trying to get that information because I thought someone might ask. I didn't know it'd be you, Karen, but thank you. But generally, it's between 18 and 25%, depending on the school. What I'm curious now is I want to do as of now, compared to last year, have we seen, because most people jumped in because they had class fees, but not everybody participates in extracurricular. So I'm wondering if the percentage of fee waivers went down. And Yvette Gunn's working with me for that, and I think I can get that information. She thought maybe by the end of the week or first thing next. I'll share that with you so that you know.
That might be good information for the next hearing in February, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right.
Now, we are supposed to say if there's anybody in this
Ah.
room that would like to make
So there's not a sign-up sheet for that hearing. Okay, is there anybody in the room that would like to make a comment for public comment on fee waivers? Not fee waivers, school fees.
Did we get
Sorry.
the online issue resolved too, if there are people online that have comments?
Well, there hasn't been anything come, and I said just email me. Email me if you want me to share information, because tonight they couldn't attend. I've not received an email yet. I will continue to seek and find, but so far, nothing.
All right, seeing none, we will, thank you, Keith. We will move on to action items and start with declaring surplus property. Mr. Stevens?
I believe we're going to table this till after closed session, discuss this in closed session, and bring an action item back to the board. Superintendent, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Do we need a motion to table it?
I think it's probably good to table it
And
until post-closed session.
Is that on both of those? G1 and G2?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're still doing them tonight, just not till after closed session.
So after closed session, we'll come back into the open session and
So I will make a motion that we move item G1 and G2 until the end of the agenda, after item P. Is that right? Is that where you wanted it?
Yep. Yes, thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We will move on to H, our information items. And we have our audit report. Hi, Matt. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me and appreciate the opportunity to present to the board. Squire & Company has been engaged to perform an audit of the financial statements of Box Elder School District for the year ended June 30th, 2025. Previously, we provided a detailed report to the audit committee, and so I'll provide a summary report tonight to you, but happy to answer any questions that you might have. Ultimately, we performed an audit of the financial statements and issue an opinion. That opinion is that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and activities of the district. What that means in non-auditor language is, as a board, as you utilize the information that's presented in the audit, you can reasonably rely that that information is accurate to make decisions. In addition to the audit of the financial statements, we perform an audit in accordance with Uniform Guidance or the Single Audit Act, which is an audit of federal compliance for your federal awards. This year we performed an audit of your Title I program, your Child Nutrition Cluster, and your Medicaid program, and issue an opinion on compliance that the district complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements outlined related to those programs. Because you're a government, we also perform an audit in accordance with government auditing standards, which requires that we evaluate your internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. And if we identify significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in those internal controls, we would be required to report those to you. We did not identify any material weaknesses or deficiencies in the internal control that are required to be reported. The final report that we issue is in accordance with the State Compliance Audit Guide. The Office of the Utah State Auditor issues an audit guide each year for specific state compliance requirements that we perform an audit of and issue an opinion on compliance. That opinion is that the district complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements outlined in the State Compliance Audit Guide issued by the Office of the Utah State Auditor. Overall, a very good report. Your team was helpful throughout the audit process. As we had questions, generally they were organized. They were candid with us in their responses, and we appreciate our association with the district. Any questions?
Usually
Please.
give us a audit booklet.
Yeah, so that's a failure on my part. I got halfway up here from Orem and I left them on my desk. So we do have PDFs, and we'll email or we'll mail them to Mr. Stevens
They
to
should
hand
be
out
in
to
the
the
board backup.
Yep. That was a failure on my part. I got halfway up here and left them at the office.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that.
Yeah.
For clarification, it is right here for all of us on board.
Yes, there is PDFs available for anybody.
It's right there. Okay.
Just look at it through the year.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment. We were met earlier and went into more detail, and since I've been on the board 12, 13 years, our district has had a long culture of doing an excellent job in managing money, and I just want to congratulate Neil and his team and all the district staff that does such a great job in complying to doing all they can to comply to the laws and keeping track and doing a great job. So just congratulations to the team.
Absolutely.
Okay, President Summers just asked me to just explain, each school district in the state of Utah has to engage with a independent auditing firm, and Squire is one of a handful, I think. I don't know how many there are out there. I've been a superintendent for 25 years, and I think that I've probably dealt with about, in 2 other school districts, about 3 or 4 other auditing firms. And while we were here, since I've been here, and this is my 9th year, Squire and Company is the second auditing firm that we've engaged with. And every year they come in, they have very strict set of rules that they have to follow from both the state and the federal, as he said. They come in, and when I say they come in hot and heavy, and they come in with the team, and they spend a lot of time talking to all of our secretaries, all of our directors that have budgets. At times, there's unique things. They've come and talked to me directly, and they just really come in and have a very set procedure for them to follow and to find out, if the money's being handled correctly and if there's any fraud. Now, as he stated to us earlier, he can't guarantee that, but they do a broad enough range, and they talk to enough people to feel very confident in their findings. And, for their own purposes, they can't, they don't want that to happen and then, find out a year or 2 later that they missed something. That just, that's poor advertising. Another portion of this is when a school district is of the size that has 10,000 or more students, we also have what's called an internal independent auditor, and that's somebody that we hire, and we engaged in a contract with Rod Cook 3 years ago because we put out an RFP and nobody else applied. Rod's a former business administrator for us, so it's actually works really good. And he comes and talks to Neil and I, and he did meet with the audit committee tonight. And just if we have something that we're wondering about, that we are curious about, and I know a former internal auditor actually had some findings about 6 or 7 years ago when we were wondering about some things, and so that does happen. And so I guess the point is we feel like we really do our best. The money is very it's tax dollars. We want to make sure it's not used inappropriately, and we're very happy that Squire and Company. I do think, Matt, I don't know if I think they do just close to half of the districts in the state. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, we do 23 of the 41, which
Okay.
makes up 70% of the funding in the state of Utah.
So, So these guys know their business. They come in and we basically give them a room, and then they come in with their laptops and they go to town. They do go out and eat at our local establishments. So for a week, it's nice that they come in and support some of our businesses. I found out about a business I didn't even know about that I've tried since then because they all loved it. I'm not going to say it out loud so I don't, but I really like it. But it was because of these guys. So anyway, I hope that answered your questions.
It did, thank you. Any other comments or questions before we move on? All right. H3 is on my, do you have a question?
I was just going to say thank you. No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you to you guys and everybody that works with the finances. It takes a village, and appreciate everybody doing a great job.
We probably ought to ask about, did you do the foundation audit, or is that?
Yeah, so the foundation is incorporated within the financial statements of the audit,
Okay.
and then we also issue a separate standalone report for the foundation.
Okay, so that will be coming. We'll show that with our foundation board. Is that?
Yeah, I think we've probably provided a PDF. Neil can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
But if you want a bound copy of that, we can provide that too. Historically, we haven't bound copies of that one,
Yeah.
but happy
No,
to.
that's fine. We'll just work with the foundation and make sure we get that. So, thank you.
On H2, is Ryan here?
Okay, we had Ryan Bjorky lined up in case we had more information. When we built this agenda, we did not know certain things, but Keith or Neil, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, Ryan, it was scheduled between 7:45 and 8. We're a little bit ahead of schedule on our board schedule.
Okay.
So I expect him to be here shortly. He did confirm he is coming.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we'll have to come back to him.
That's
Do we
correct.
need a motion to do that, or?
I think it might not hurt just to.
All right. Would anyone be willing to put a motion forward to amend, I guess, this agenda?
I can.
Thank
I'll suggest that we move H2, Ryan Bjorky, since he's not here yet, to a later time when he arrives.
Do we have a second?
I can second. Oh, okay.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. This is rare. We're never ahead of schedule, so it's nice, right? It's good for us. Not so great if you're coming from Bountiful or Salt Lake for a certain time. All right, let's move to H3. Is Matt here? Matt's not.
That's Matt that we just talked to.
No, okay. Matt Nelson
Matt Nelson.
from our foundation
Okay, sorry.
isn't here either. We're just gonna,
Our estimation was 735,
right.
so we may need to look at H4.
Let's move to H4. Corey is here, and we appreciate you being here, Corey.
I just saw Matt. I didn't even.
Yeah, too bad.
Okay, so an update on large capital projects. Do you want me to click or do you want to click? You click. Okay, you click. So we have 4 major projects going on right now that are in the design phase. We'll go through each of those. I have a bullet point page and then a site layout for each of the 4 projects. And that should be in your board books also. It's a little bit bigger behind you than there when we get to the site plans, but at Box Elder High School, that addition, we are going to replace the current CTE wing with a 3-story building connected to the main building. Construct a PE facility in the current grass soccer field with turf and classrooms. Remodel portions in the current school, create a new bus drop-off pickup on the west side. The estimated completion is winter of 27-28, which aligns with approximately an 18-month build window. And the current cost estimate right now is hovering around $50 million.
Okay, so we can go to the next one, the site plan. This is one that I've shown in board meeting before. The site plan really hasn't changed since then. But we have the bottom right is where we have a current parking lot there, but we also have a new bus drop-off pickup right there. That'll be an advantage because it'll separate the car drop-off pickup from the bus drop-off pickup. If you've ever been there, at any of our schools that we don't have that separation, it can be pretty congested. And then the middle of the campus where you see that darker purple, that is the current CTE building. We will demolish that and rebuild with a 3-story building. You can see that that actually connects with the main building. So it actually puts more of our students within the main portion of the building. And then on it's on the left side about middle, that is the current soccer field, grass practice field. Because we have turf, they play their games primarily on the turf, but that is the site where we would build a PE facility, bring in 9th graders to the high school. We need that additional PE facility. And the most economical way to do that is this type of a building that has turf inside of it. We'll also construct on the north side of that building will be a weight room, which enables us to move the current weight room out of the main building, and we will we will construct additional girls' locker room space right there. Also in the new PE building, we will have an upstairs on the one side that will have a multi-purpose or multi-use space for classes like aerobics, yoga, dance, along with a classroom. So that's pretty much the build at Box Elder. Before we go on to Bear River, are there any questions on the Box Elder? Okay.
Then I have a question.
Okay.
I've always been confused on this, the 200 South, right now that is a through road, correct? So now it will not be a through road. Like you won't be able to drive.
So, and I'm going to let Neil correct me where I misspeak on this, but we've been talking with Brigham City. We would not purchase or own that road because Brigham City still has utilities in there, but we would lease.
We would have a 99-year lease at a phenomenal dollar fee. We would maintain the top side. They were doing repairs or maintenance on top side and bottom side, but we would be responsible for snow removal, things like that. And we would share that road with Storm Bowling as well. We've been working on an agreement with that, with Storm and Brigham City and us to effectuate these plans.
And that is from the top of 600 West all the way down to 800 West. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That whole
Yep.
road is
Yep.
the lease?
Well, our portion of that would be to the end of our property, which is the end of the grass below the PE
So the
facility.
lease would be,
okay.
Storm would have a portion of the lease and we would have a portion of the lease.
And you're saying Storm?
Storm Bowling,
Oh,
the business on the corner.
Manufacturing, yeah.
okay. I knew that.
And really the main purpose behind this is student safety. Those students are crossing that road every transition time between classes, before and after school, and it'll just create essentially one continuous sidewalk where they can safely go across to the other classes.
Corey, before we go, speaking of safety, so I don't know if you can see up here, about where my light is, there's a triangular section that comes out into the hallway. It's kind of been a choke point that would be moved back, so that hallway by the library would just be straight through. Right now it protrudes out. It creates this massive it's a crazy place. You do not want to be there between class break. But that would straighten that hallway out, which would increase flow so much better. And then one last thing is right up here by the elevator, between the upper floor and then the river, there's going to be stairs taken down from the upper floor down into the commons area, which creates other access. So once again, this area right about, you probably can speak to that area when you come out of the math hall and the science hall and the library, and it's called crazy.
Yeah, that part's like super, like, I don't know, it's super scary and congested, yeah. And like even that road, it's, you said the 600 west, 800 west? Like you don't want to cross that road. Like you have to like watch the whole time you go around.
Yeah.
And like even the road above where all of like the diagonal parking spots are, like you have to like watch. Like you can't like, I don't know. It's like super scary. You always have to be watching, yeah.
And then maybe just 2 other safety features. And it's important. I've hated the fact that it's not a secured vestibule, but it will be now. So that tiny little, I don't know what that's called.
Area.
That will be, everybody's gonna have to come into the office now. It's not just a free-for-all. We really like that. So that's a nice safety feature. And then out here, right now, when you leave kind of that north end of the school, it goes out into open space. This would now keep that continuous. So again, it's not a place where we could kind of shut down our school during class time and kids can't, the only place they can get in is through the main entrance. And so those are some nice safety features that will help protect our school. Sorry, Corey, I didn't mean to add that.
You're good. You're good. Okay, any other questions on Box Elder? Yes.
I can
Okay.
speak now. I've had several calls of some teachers that feel like that they haven't had any voice in what's going to happen, and they said that they were told that they would be able to have some voice, and they shared an email, I guess that happened just before Christmas shutdown, where they were told they could come and be told about what's happening, but there was no questions asked. So I would hope that we are gonna, I mean, they don't want to be involved just at the time to pick color of carpet.
Right.
They wanted to be involved more up front, which
Yeah.
is what we kind of said in the community meetings, that we would have the community members and the teachers, the stakeholders involved. So
Yes. So in the early stages of the design, we did have teacher input. I was part of most of those meetings. You might have been there. Well, Ben, today from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, the principal, AJ, set up, we had the architect, the contractor, and AJ set up scheduled times. They met with CTE for the foods room, for wood shop, for robotics. They met with performing arts. They met with, I wasn't able to be to all of them because of the design meeting for the West Tremont build. I'm trying to remember. So yes, you're right, it hadn't happened fully, but it did today. So just
Talk.
no.
They were talking
No.
about where would you put things and how to make that facilitate. They hadn't got to all the weeds yet, but today was important that they had a voice, and they
Yeah,
did.
so, yeah, Braun was talking about where he's going to locate the saws for wood shop. Robotics was talking about where they do their actual hands-on work and where they need all of their different equipment. Food services, or not food services, foods in CTE, they were talking about what kind of food prep area that they need, whether or not they want this appliance or that appliance, what kind of utilities need to be in the classroom. We even talked about window dressings because they're facing west, but as you know, if you're going to have a food prep kitchen, if you have blinds in there, they get covered with greasy dust. And so, yeah, so we actually got into the detail of what those rooms will be like.
Okay, I'll check back and
Yeah,
see.
yeah. So hopefully if there's anybody that hasn't been heard or had their opportunity to give a voice, then we'd want to know that. For Bear River High School that we'll talk about next, that one isn't as far along in the design, but we have been talking with teachers on that one through David Lee, and also through Ben has been talking with the CTE teachers. Probably every time that we have a meeting, he'll go and talk with them also. So we are including them. As long as we're on that topic, when we get talking about Discovery, we had a meeting at Discovery that included admin, office staff, teachers, as far as the design process. So yeah, we are trying to do that to get more in. And yeah, and with the Tremont and with the elementary and Tremont, we had the design meeting this morning, and they were setting up. Heidi Jo was setting up times with the architect that she could get some teachers and office staff to give input also. So.
And with that, we got community members involved? We also had said that we would have community members involved in this process.
We have not had the community members, so I'd be interested which community members we'd pick to be on that. So, excuse me, Neil and I talked about having some kind of open house that we could share these plans with them. So.
My suggestion is to have an open house with an open mic question and answer from the community, back and forth with the district. Talk about design, talk about what they want to see, questions they may have with it, to open dialogue.
It was my understanding when I was in those meetings that we were going to have the community members as part of the ones getting us to this process, not just after the fact type of a, this is what we got, what do you think?
Okay. Okay, let's go to Bear River. So at Bear River High, purchase trade for seminary building, that is at the final stages. The benefit to that is it gives us that northeast corner of the campus so that we can have more of a one continuous campus. It'll be a 2-story building on the north connected to the main building. We have a PE facility south of the baseball field that'll have a court, gym, and classrooms. Move softball to reduce campus congestion. Bus drop-off pickup on the northwest corner. PE practice field to replace current softball. The estimated completion would be spring, summer of 2028. So that one combined with Box Elder High's completion date, the goal is to bring 9th grade in fall of 28. And the current cost estimate is hovering around $57 million. But as I mentioned earlier, we're not as far along on this design process as we are with Box Elder, and so we're just continuing to refine the plan and get the cost down. So we go to the site plan. This is a site plan that I believe we've shared previously in board meeting. The center of the campus that is currently the media center in the tan, we would repurpose the media center into classroom space, and the current science would be remodeled into art space, and we would construct new science classrooms. That's something that's been on our radar for quite a while now, that we needed to upgrade the science rooms, and so this gives us that opportunity. On the north end of that blue would be CTE, so those larger spaces would be metal shop, wood shop, and auto shop space, along with some ag space and CTE. If you look at the baseball field, below that, to the south of that is the PE building. So there will be enough classrooms in there. We're calling it PE building just because it's going to have gym space, but it will also have a weight room on that main floor. We'll do the same thing at Bear River as at Box Elder, that we will construct a new weight room in that PE building, and the current weight room will become girls' locker room space. We'll remodel that. Also in that PE space in the new building, it will have an upstairs above the classrooms, and so we have some room up there for expansion or growth of student population.
Where was the expansion of growth?
Okay, so below the baseball field is the PE space. So the gym portion will be the full height, 2 stories, but everything else on that building is a 2-story. On the main floor is a weight room, an athletic trainer room, a classroom, restrooms that will be available to the public, along with locker room space, and also a concession stand on the northeast corner. Upstairs from that will be a staff break room and classrooms. So, yep. So that's where they can expand. There would actually be enough classrooms that if you wanted to pick a subject, you could probably put the entire department out there. Like, say if it's math or language arts or social sciences, you could most likely put all of them out there in that upstairs. So it'll be a good opportunity for expansion when needed. Okay, and then softball, benefit of softball being placed east of the natatorium is that we currently have facilities in the natatorium that are underused. We have locker room space and also concession stand that were constructed on the remodel with the idea that the soccer field there would use them. Those facilities have never been used to their full potential. This gives us the opportunity to use those already established facility to a fuller potential without any additional cost to us. So they would have all the locker room space and concessions for that activity. So, any questions on Bear River?
I might just add, so up in the upper left-hand corner, that's a
yes.
practice field, and that's where the bus, like the bus routes are gonna. I don't know what the configuration. They're still manipulating that, but that's going to be a place where buses come to drop off. And I keep on forgetting the name or the number. Jason says 32 buses flow into Bear River High, and so this would be where that would occur. But that is a practice field, which allows this lower left to become a part of the practice field. And then by moving the softball field, we utilize this space, but like Corey just mentioned, to have access to men and women or multiple locker rooms and concession stand as well.
And that also reminded me, so the reason for the location of the PE building is we were going to put that in or on the same spot as the current CTE building. But we need that CTE building in use during the course of construction. So if we were going to do that, it would push the final phases out an additional year. And we said we can't push it out to open in fall of 29. That's too long of a build. So this is the other option, and it's actually going to, I think, end up for a benefit, because that creates additional parking right there in the middle of campus, which is good both for staff parking. It's also going to be sought after parking, I think, for after school events. That there's there's always a need for more parking at a school. So that can be a benefit there too.
Safety features. Once again, there'll be a secure vestibule at Bear River High coming in instead of just walking all the way in and go wherever you want. They'll go into the office. And by trading with the seminary building, jumping over to the east, now we have a continuous safer environment where the administration is right dab in the middle of the school campus. And so again, a safety feature of keeping everybody close and central. There'd been some discussion about, moving the CTE over here to the north of the baseball field, but again, that's a 10-minute walk, and we potentially could have, 300 kids over there and not an administrator. So by moving it to the north, it keeps things kind of compacted. And yes, they still have to leave, campus, just like at both ends of the district. You're gonna have to leave to access certain things, but it's limited how much you can do that. So.
I think this is a really interesting, it's amazing what they have done and thought through, to make the safety and the physical, the using the property we have, because this campus it's tight, right? There's no, we don't have, and there's stuff all around it and parking, and anytime we've been there, for football games, for example, I'm really appreciative of the thought that they went into to create that parking in places that are needed, even though that's not top priority, but it does make a difference, especially when we're talking about safety of students coming and going from schools. I think that was really well thought out, and like Keith said, that continuity of, we do have an outbuilding, an outbuilding, that's not the best way to say it, but an extra building, a detached, thank you, that's a better word, a detached building, but it's limited. And I like this, they don't even have to cross the road to get to that one, and with Box Elder, changing that road, it makes much safer, kind of like Michaela said. So I really appreciate the well thought out design of this, because I know they've gone through lots of iterations.
Yeah, Bear River High is approximately 29 acres. Box Elder High is about 49 acres, and if they're going to design and build a brand new high school, it's going to be 50 plus acres. So it is a really tight site.
To your point, Julie, if kids were crossing to go to the Natchez Point, there is a light. You go to the north end, if kids are crossing to go into release time, there's a light. And so, I think this is good safety for our students.
Corey, can you speak to added programs, maybe Keith can too, added programs by the UHSAA, Utah High School Athletic Association, added required sports, and not just boys and girls, and Title IX, and these athletic facilities, and how valuable this space is, especially to our female athletes who need locker rooms and whatnot.
Do you want that one, Keith? I don't know what sports are coming on the horizon.
I think,
I've heard some
obviously when,
additional.
The Utah High School Activity Association says it is sanctioned a sport. It's not required by them to be Title IX compliant. But if we approve a sport, we are required to be Title IX compliant. They are an entity that does not. So if they approve this, we just have to make sure we meet those rules. And one of those is equal access to locker rooms, etc. And right now we're out of balance. I guess I would just went on record to say that. But this would help us become more in balance, and making sure that our female athletes have the same type, same size, same number of locker spaces for their corresponding sports that we have. We do have equal number of sports, but our facilities are still a little bit, they need a little of improvement. So this is something that has to be addressed. This is one of the ways to do that. I might also add, both ends of the district, our foundation has been looking for teen centers, and both places will have a teen center. And again, and I think maybe I'd heard you had a question about that, maybe Karen, about obviously what will that role look like? What are the hours going to be? But there is a space being created in both ends of the district, And again, our Jubilee of Trees that have been fundraising for the last couple of years has all been to kind of help support this. And Jamie Kent, who does an awesome job as our foundation director, is going to help us, kind of lead us through that process and community interactions there. So it's just a room out of lots of rooms. I mean, there's 40 new classrooms at Bear River High, 20 being replaced and 20 coming over. So they have more classrooms of just that have been kind of needed to be updated. So this will just be one of those 40 that will help us meet some of the diverse needs of our student body on both ends of the district.
We speak to programs. One thing we did here is we don't have auto shop at Bear River High currently, but Box Elder High does have that. We did add that space for that in this current configuration, so the students on the north end can take an auto shop or a small engine course or mechanics course at the high school and not have to leave and go to the BTech to have those courses.
And teen centers, just to clarify, I think all of us are aware, but I don't know if everyone in this room is aware. For teens with unstable, that's not the right word, I can't remember the term that is used, but unstable housing circumstances, whether they are homeless or just don't have a place where they can do laundry or study and feel safe at the same time. Shower, basic needs that we have teens that we need to help with.
As,
so
Ben and I had an opportunity to, tour Ogden, Weber's, Davis teen centers, and to hear how they're being used, it really is incredible and be a great resource for our community.
Cora, I just want to make one comment. At the state conference we went to, they had one of our breakout sessions was build smarter, spend less, real strategies that save millions. And I know even tonight you mentioned we're doing this to save money, and I know you think about that. But I think, we as taxpayers, the community expects us to be really intentional about saving money. A couple of things they talked about was material prices fluctuate. So one year it might be more cost effective to do concrete, and then the next year concrete prices and asphalt changes. And so just want to, have you had a chance to, this was given by Jordan School District, have you had a chance to talk and work with any of the people in your similar position across the state and what they've learned and done to collaborate with them and find out how they saved money and maybe some things that we could do?
Yeah, so there's always that collaboration piece. We also work with the contractors that are on these jobs. They have estimators that are always watching the market. We're always looking when's the right bid window. And they're always watching the entire market across the state. When we're talking about the bid window, they're able to say, okay, and we know that this job is going to be bid then. We're not seeing a lot of high schools coming up or big builds at this time. So that's a good window to build because people are going to be hungry. We're always looking at materials and what the material costs are for different methods, exterior finishes, which one, and it's always a balancing act of which material will give us a long life without being too much,
Durability.
Yeah, the durability versus upfront cost, because we don't want to do something that in 10 years we're having to repair it, but is there one material more cost effective than another? So we're always talking through that, and methodology of how we approach these projects. And I have an example when we get to the Discovery Edition that highlights that exact thing. So we have, I don't know what to call it because I'm waiting for the school board to pick a name. So we could call it the West Tremont Elementary. We can call it the Elementary School number 14. I've called it both. I'm hoping, I don't want either of those to stick. But anyway, the new elementary school in Tremonton on the west side. So its estimated completion for fall of 2028 is what we're being told right now. The cost estimate is approximately right at 38 million. We just got the first rendition of that budget this morning in our meeting. We can go to the next. So okay, so here's an example. When we built Golden Spike Elementary, we were already in the construction phase when the name was picked, and all the way through the end, we still have documents from that build that say Bunderson or Bunderson replacement, because all of the architects and contractors, they're just going to put on there what it's been called by the architect. So that's up to the board when you pick it, but just know that it's going to default to something when they do this. But this is the location. On the red squares, the location, it's between 84 and 15, and the closest natural landmark that is just a mile away is Salt Spring that turns into Salt Creek, which actually there's a lot of history to that, but this is the location kind of on the edge of western part of Tremonton and Bothwell to the left. So yeah, go back one
So
slide.
I can see the elementary, when you have those, the site plans over there, that's just kind of give us an idea of how big that is, or are you going to construct like a baseball diamond, for example, or is that more of a like potential uses for that property?
Yeah, so we can do the finishes however we determine. Most likely we'll have a soccer field. We may or may not put a baseball diamond. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Some areas use it, some areas don't. In Tremonton, there's a higher likelihood that we'd use a baseball diamond than other places. We have modified this site in some areas. As far as the top left corner, we've added some bus lane for some special education buses, because the top right or top left corner of the school is where we will have some of the special education classes. So we have done some modifications to this. We'll continue to modify it because we'd like to increase parking on that main parking lot that's got a curve to it. We'd like to move some of that out into that grass area, but that is a retention pond. So we're still working through some of the civil site plans on this site. So, any other questions on this one? Okay, Keith, if you want to jump to. So Discovery Addition. The addition is on the northeast of the school. We are going to do 12 classrooms and a commons area, an additional gym besides the one they have. The current design is approximately 28,000 square feet. We will have a separate loops for car and bus drop-off pickup. If you've ever been caught in traffic at Discovery Elementary, you'll know why we need to do that. It's pretty congested to have everything right on 5th West. Currently they have approximately 92 parking stalls. The first rendition of the site plan, the architect came with 182. We said, that's probably too many. We don't need to build that many, so we've pared it down to 142 parking stalls, and you'll see that when I show you the site plan. There's planned for 10 plus buses and a 20 car queue on the pickup drop-off. We're hoping to be ready for fall of 2027. That's gonna be a push. We're crossing our fingers for that. The estimated cost right now is $13 million. So if we can go to the next, to the site plan, Keith. Oh, that didn't show up very well. We'll do our best. So the original school, current school, is the diamond that then extends to the north and a little bit to the right with that angle. That's the current school. And then the addition comes off to the right from that to the northeast. It was going to go straight, but then it took up most of the space in the park and we lost all of that grass. So we turned it and preserved most of the park. So we'll go there. To the right is the bus loop. So if we go all the way down on the bottom of that bus loop on the south, that is the parcel that the school district just purchased. So it does connect to, what is that, 850 North, I think, that 850, I think right there. That will not be a major thoroughfare. We're predicting that the buses would continue north because then they can catch that 450 east and head out to 900 9th North. And then there's parking within the bus loop. On the, right where the cursor is there on the southwest, that would be the new car drop-off pickup. We are taking all of the parking spots off of the street. That'll improve visibility and put them all right there on the campus. And then the bus or the car drop-off pickup would extend the entire length around the school. So, okay, questions on this, or those that have been in the meetings might have some input on this too. Questions, thoughts on this? Okay.
I had someone reach out to me with a question about the Discovery Edition, and I just wanted to point out that Discovery Edition isn't about Discovery students and Discovery. It's to aid in the overcrowding at Lakeview Elementary, to reboundary kids and to move kids. Lakeview was built the same year as our North Park, and our West Tremonton School is going to make North Park so that we can use it longer and it's not overcrowded, get rid of portables. This addition to Discovery does the same for Lakeview Elementary. So just wanted to reiterate the purpose for this.
Thank you. And it brings up a good point too. We currently have 2 portables at Discovery Elementary. They are positioned right where that car loop is. And so our intent is that we would remove those when this is complete. So we'd actually have a net gain of 10 classrooms, even though we're building 12. Okay.
Thank you, Corey.
Corey, I want to point out in Discovery Elementary, one of the things we're going to gain a dedicated gym space and lunch space separately, so we can hold lunch and gym for other grades simultaneously. Currently, we don't have that capacity. So this is one of the programming upgrades we've made to address learning and improvement in the learning opportunities at the school.
Thank you. Yes. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. We are going to move now to item H2. And Ryan Bjork, thank you so much for being here. We'll give the mic to you.
Having me again. Sorry I was standing up there in the back, as I mentioned to Neil, having some back troubles, and figured it'd probably take me the rest of the meeting to get up and to the mic, so I thought I would spare you that probably comedy for other people, but pain for me. So Neil asked me to come up today and answer a few questions with regard to the petition. So I'll go through those questions and then open it up for any additional questions that you may have to try and help you through the process. So the first one was, what happens when the petition is filed, if you receive a petition? So that should be filed with the local building authority. Again, we've got our 2 hats, and it's the local building authority that's issuing the bonds. So when it's filed, then you have 3 days to give that to the county clerk. Okay? 3 business days. There's no review process for you. Nothing that the LBA or the district does. You don't go through, you don't need to count. That's turned over to the county clerk to go through. So that was one of the next questions, is who's responsible for verifying, and that's the county clerk, and they're told how to do it by reference to the election code and other similar circumstances. So they'll go through, the code specifies what they can and can't count. They'll go through that, and they have 14 regular days, business days, 14 days, to go through and see and to certify and get it back to the LBA if it is certified. Okay? So then, if it's certified as compliant, what happens? Well, it basically stops your process. If a petition's been filed that meets the statutory requirements, then you're required to have an election before you can issue the bonds. Okay? So basically, you go on hold. The only time you can hold an election is in November. And so we then flip to the process that you just barely went through. I'm going to jump to kind of one of the later questions, which was, how does it differ from what you just did? And it's basically the same thing. It says you hold an election in the same manner that you do for general obligation bonds under the Local Government Bonding Act. So basically in August, you've got to have a resolution adopted and notify the Lieutenant Governor. You've got to give certain notices, hold certain hearings, basically that whole same process that you did before. So you're pretty... By August. So I think it's, if I remember right, 75 days before you have to make the filing with the Lieutenant Governor's office, but you can do it before then. So then what happens if the petition is not certified, that there aren't enough signatures? Then you can move forward with the local building authority process. I'm not sure if you were all provided the calendar that we have, but at your last meeting we adopted the first resolution in the process. It called for certain public hearings to be held. Those would be contemplated at your next meeting. I think, Neil, we're still kind of trying to decide.
It'll probably be March. The timeline for the clerk to certify ends approximately February 14th, and we have to have 14 days of public notice prior to the next hearing about this.
Yeah.
So as soon as it would happen would be our March meeting.
So we'll probably shift some of those, let everybody know that they've been postponed. You'd have those meetings. You have to adopt another resolution. Then we get into the marketing process. I don't think it would be too delayed. I think we were looking kind of April, May closing.
Yeah, it'd probably be closer towards the end of April now.
Yeah. So you can keep on the similar process that had already been set up. There may be a little bit of a delay, but we can build in or build back some of the time, or get back some of the time. I think, let's see, that covered most of the questions that were provided beforehand. Any questions that you have now that I've given sort of that quick, brief overview on what's there?
Can we remind the user microphone so we can record it for YouTube?
Okay. What is the exact date that they have to have the signatures in, and how many signatures?
The exact day that we've determined is Friday.
This Friday?
This Friday.
Okay.
And I think it's 20% of the active voters from the last election.
It's approximately 7,000 registered voters. I don't have the exact number, but I believe it's based on January 1st of 2025 registered voters, I believe. It's kind of weird because we have crossover years when they started the petition.
And it's kind of a unique definition of active voters because they can go in and they can take certain people off depending if they've given certain notices and gone through certain processes.
Or how long it's been since they voted in the last election. It's pretty complex of what an active voter is defined as.
Yeah, so it's hard to know exactly, but that's approximately what it is.
So the clerk will determine exactly what signatures are legit, like if they've signed 2 times and only count for 1 type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they're supposed to do to go in and certify.
Okay. And they have 2 weeks to do that?
Yep, 14 regular days.
14 regular days, okay.
And I say that because you have the 3 business days to deliver it to them.
I see, okay. So why do they, if they give it to us for 3 days and we don't do anything with it, what's the purpose of that?
You know, I'm not sure. I think it's just in case somebody's not here, something happens. It gives you a little bit of leeway that it doesn't have to be instantaneous.
Okay.
But there's nothing that you have to do. You can do it before then, but that's the longest it can be.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I guess a couple questions with that. You said that we don't have to evaluate it, but we can certainly look at who's on there.
You can.
I don't know. Okay. And the second question is, excuse me, there is a 3-day time period where people who did sign the petition have the right to officially unsign or have their signatures removed. When is that time frame?
Getting really specific on me here.
Well, we understood.
And the reason why I say this is because I think this is number 2.
Yeah, in the state.
So this is not a regular process that we go through and say, you know, I can tell you with the election pretty quickly. So let me see if I can pull up that section really quickly. So it's 3 business days after you provide it to the county clerk.
So probably from the day we give it to them, then 3 days after that.
The 3 business days.
They, I suppose, the signature, signators they have to go to the county and have probably signed some official form to say they'd like to withdraw if that were the case.
Yes, if that's the case.
Okay, question. So who brings the petition to us Friday? And at what time? Like, is it the end of closing day?
Yeah, they have till the end of business on Friday.
Okay.
Whoever's sponsoring it, I mean, it doesn't designate who has to bring it to you. It's whoever's filing it.
But they have to have it here by the end of the day, by when the
I think
district
we've
office
had
closes.
some people reach out and actually talk with Marcy and Neil, and I think they're
worked that out.
arranging for
Okay.
that to happen.
Okay.
Our office closes at 3 p.m. on Fridays. I've notified the person who requested that confirmation of that, and that Friday is the deadline. So they have been provided that information in writing of when the deadline is turned in.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that everything from everyone? Any other questions, concerns? Thank you. I think most of us have been aware of, I think we all have been aware of these details, but I wanted to hear it from the source so that we can.
Well, you can see I'm not necessarily the source. I have to flip back because, again,
No.
it's not something that occurs regularly, and we'll get you through the process and
Okay.
do our
So
best.
remind me again that there's another public hearing, which you said will probably be in the March school board meeting. Is that what you said?
There will be 3 public hearings.
Okay.
And, well, you have 2 required public hearings for your lease revenue bonds, and you have a public hearing that's required because these bonds were rejected at an election. If the petition is filed, you would probably not hold those hearings if it's certified, because you're going to have to hold some of those hearings as part of your election process, and it doesn't necessarily do anything to have them now.
Which is the same process we went through for the GO bond.
Which is the
It's
same-
exact same process.
Exact same
Yeah.
process that you went
Yeah.
through for the GOs. So if a certified petition is filed, then you probably pull those and hold those hearings later in connection with the election.
And it's after the public hearing that we'd hear that we would make a vote to go out to bond. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. So you will not vote on the final resolution. So we had the one resolution that you adopted to start this process, to call the public hearings, to get the notices out so people could be aware. But then the actual approval of the bonds and moving forward would be after the public hearings.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I'm sorry, I'm newer. So, we just did a tax increase to be able to afford this bond, correct? Theoretically?
Truth in
With the
taxation.
truth in
Theoretically, yes,
taxation.
it's a capital levy
Okay.
that you can use for capital projects, including to help pay for this bond.
So if we end up going to vote for it, it's not going into a GO bond at that point, because then we'd be asking for more money. They're wanting to just approve these projects to then, I'm sorry.
No, no, no,
so
it's all right.
confusing.
So you have your two different kinds of bonds, your general obligation bonds that's supported by a tax, your debt service levy. And then you have these lease revenue bonds that are supported by rent payments that, in this instance, it was going to come from your capital outlay, I think, fund.
That's correct.
Yeah, so because you've moved to the lease revenue bonds, there's a process by which they can force an election. You can have that election and continue with the lease revenue bonds, or you can have other discussions and see if there might be a different process that you want to follow if you have to do an election again.
Okay.
So that you do, if that petition is filed, you may be having certain discussions on how exactly you want to proceed.
Okay. Thank you.
Just so that it does not require you to have an election and to issue these bonds. If you choose not to issue the bonds, you don't have to have the election. Okay, so it's just approval is required to issue these bonds.
So in essence, if we chose not to, we would still be collecting all of that money for the truth in taxation that we've already passed, and then
Designate
to
it
designate
somewhere
it
else.
how we use it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's up to
That's
your
correct. So
discretion
the
as
truth in
board.
taxation is think about it as the income, it's the job if you're getting a mortgage. And this process is getting the mortgage from the bank to be able to purchase the home. And so we would still be collecting that. The board has the ability to set that rate at whatever they do each year, they're required to set it. And so the contemplated plans that we would have that tax rate set sufficiently to pay for this bond each year.
Thank you. And sorry you had to wait when you got here. We were ahead of schedule and then we,
No,
anyway.
I felt bad for being late, so thank you.
Thanks, and travel safely.
Have a good night, Ryan. Thank you.
All right, we are going to move to H3, and we have our foundation board president, Matt Nelson, here to do that for us. Thank you.
Our mission at the Box Elder School District Foundation is to build enduring partnerships between our communities and the schools here in Box Elder County. We work to enrich our students' educational experiences and to both complement and enhance our school district's resources. We show our support to our students through community fundraising efforts and collecting donations so that we can help our teachers to have the resources they need to go above and beyond their basic budget limitations. Our main areas of focus work to support fine arts clinics and workshops, support STEM projects and equipment, fund special teacher projects and requests, and support student health and wellness. Here's how we've supported these goals over this last year. In supporting fine arts clinics and workshops, we have foundation concerts. Every year we help to provide funding for our choir, band, and orchestra departments to help cover the costs of bringing in guest conductors, providing sheet music, etc. We have an upcoming choir concert on Tuesday, February 10th at Bear River High School. The orchestra concert is Thursday, February 12th and at Box Elder, and then the band concert's coming up on Saturday, March 28th at Box Elder High School. In funding our special teacher projects and requests, we cover a multitude of teacher funding requests. This year we funded 33 requests totaling $30,780, and we're working to fund 10 more requests to provide an additional $9,900. These requests include books, learning project materials, lab equipment, robotics equipment, specimens for dissection, miscellaneous music department requests, art materials, unified sports program participation for our special ed students, etc. In supporting STEM projects and equipment, we've apportioned Nucor and Northrop Grumman grants. We received and directed over $21,000 from Nucor Foundation for Nucor grants to our teachers, mostly for STEM, but also available for our elementary and middle schools. Our Northrop Grumman grants processed over $20,000 in grants, which help funds which funds are used strictly for secondary STEM programs at our high schools. In supporting student health and wellness, we have provided many pantry packs, clothing, and other items for our students in need. And due to the prolonged government shutdown, we were able to step in and allocate $10,000 for our students in the form of warm clothing, hoodies, etc., with $8,100 having been utilized so far. The main goal we are working towards is to ultimately, as mentioned earlier, is to provide designated on-campus teen centers for our students that are most in need. In providing these services to our teachers and students, it requires a lot of effort and money. We have wonderful community partners who have provided generously throughout the year. Many of them have participated in most of, if not all of the following fundraisers. Every year we host our spring and fall golf tournaments. We brought in a combined $40,000 in net proceeds from both the Skyway and Eagle Mountain golf tournaments, and these funds help go towards our teacher funding requests. We also host a summer ATV ride, which brought in over $3,000 with 2 of our sponsors participating in that. And these funds also go towards our teacher funding requests. And what is quickly becoming the crown jewel of our fundraising efforts, we have our Jubilee of Trees. We had our 3rd Jubilee of Trees. Our participation nearly doubled what we did last year. We went from 9 tables to over 17 tables this year, to 17 tables this year. We've officially outgrown the Utah State Brigham City venue, and we'll be at the fairgrounds again next year. We auctioned off 16 trees with 36 baskets and wreaths. We cleared almost $29,000, which is nearly double the $15,000 we brought in the previous year. Next year, our Jubilee of Trees will be from November 4th to the 7th, and will be open to the public for 1 day only instead of 2 because of the having to work around the election day time constraints on November 3rd. These funds go to our student health and wellness goal. We are saving up to provide these teen centers for our students. We currently have about $90,000 in designated student wellness funds saved up so far. So we are getting to the point where once we get logistics figured out, we can help implement getting those washers and dryers and showers and other needs, other items set up for those students. We were also able to hand out 30 scholarships that we offer our students, and last year we awarded 24 scholarships totaling $30,500. So it was a very good year looking back, and our fundraising efforts continue to grow and bring in more and more funds through our fundraisers. Any questions?
Did you say, maybe I missed it, what was your overall, how much did you make last year in donations?
In donations, so we pulled in $40,000 from our golf tournaments, $3,000 from our ATV ride, and almost $30,000 from our Jubilee of Trees. So that's about $72,000. Plus we brought in about $40,000 in grants.
Any other questions for Matt?
Well, no, I have a comment, if you don't mind.
No.
I'd just like to thank Matt. You know, this is a volunteer, and he's put in a lot of time. I will say he is incredibly reverent today, because generally when he runs our meetings, we have a lot more fun. I'm going, who is this guy? But thanks, Matt, for your time. You know, we have a group of, I don't know, 15 to, by the time we get special, 25, 30 people who put in a lot of time to help our kids, and quite often our most kids in most need to be able to do great things. And so thank you, and thank the foundation.
Thanks, Steve.
Yes, thank you for your time that you put
You
in.
bet.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to move to H5, video and recruitment. Karina and Jamie have that.
Okay, so Steve asked us to talk a little bit about this video here and how we use it for recruitment. And so this is just like why you would want to work at BE.
It looks bad when I've asked you to do something and I'm the very first pitcher. That's not the reason for that at all.
No.
I'm going, who is that old guy with that white chin? So, wow.
And so we used to have a video that included 2 of our old schools that are no longer our schools in it, and also it was recorded during COVID, and they had masks on and stuff, and so it was very hard to use that for recruitment. It didn't look like we were cutting edge. And so with recruitment, we give the people when we go to the career fairs, we give them this little thing all about BESD, and it has this link to why BESD, which is the video. And like I said, the old video really didn't recruit people that well. We also, each of you had a little chocolate up there that is used at recruitment, and so we have these chocolates that have the QR code to the video on the back. And we give them, we have a lot of BESD stuff that we give out that has the QR code on it, so that if they're sitting there using a Band-Aid, they can look at the QR code and go, oh yeah, Box Elder School District, I should, consider them. We're hoping, we talk to them, we interview them, there's a lot more to it, but that was just a little additional thing.
Tell them one other thing.
Yeah.
There'll be districts from out of state that are sitting with big signs that say $5,000 or $10,000 signing bonuses.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be as frugal as possible while
Hey,
Nevada,
all of the districts have little tables with stuff like
I know,
this,
but that's just what they have to compete against.
it is hard to compete with that, but people do come up and they're like, what's this? And this is screen cleaner that cleans your computer or your glasses or whatever. So anyway, we try to.
Can I ask,
and we
like,
put the
when
QR
you go to these recruitment, like, where and how many do you do?
So we go to the one at SUU, we go to Utah Tech, we go to BYU Idaho, BYU Career Fair, and USU is our biggest one. We have a lot of kids there. Student, teacher kids, like younger than, okay, they're our future teachers. And they're so excited, you guys. The Career Fair is probably one of my favorite parts of my job because they are so excited to get their first teaching position and come and meet with you and talk about Box Elder. And, our kids, our students here that leave Box Elder and go to colleges at those areas want to come home and want to work in our area, and so they're excited to see, oh, Box Elder's here, and we can come to. So our first career fair is on February 4th at SUU, and then February 5th they go all the way through March 2nd. So yeah, and what's that? I think it's the 25th. Is it the 25th? Yeah, the 25th of February. So. And so anyway, with that, I asked Jamie, because I know the district paid, and I don't know the amount, but I know that the original video that they did with the masks and stuff, they had a company come in, and it cost us a little bit of money. And so we wanted to save money, and Jamie has been doing such a fantastic job with all of our social media stuff. And so I asked her if she thought she could put together this video, and I think she did a phenomenal job. So it's like 2 minutes long. I don't know, Jamie wants to speak to the people that had helped her in her process.
Yeah. We just really wanted to capture the good stuff at Box Elder and talk about some of the programs and opportunities that we have here. So I'm thankful for these people that would be willing to let me record them and be on this video. There's definitely a couple things we want to change for next year. When we got out and took some pictures of the building, you'll see there's snow, and we want to switch those out to some better pictures. So we'll definitely, now that we have the video when it's ours, yeah, I know, we did it last week. But now that it's ours, we can go in and edit it and change it, and it will be easier than paying someone to do it. So anyway, we're going to show it to you. I do too.
Me too.
Our mission at Box Elder School District is to make sure all students learn at grade level or higher.
From preschool through 12th grade, our schools provide meaningful learning opportunities that challenge students to grow.
You'll get to watch it 3 times.
She did a good job, huh?
Our mission at Box Elder School District is to make sure all students learn at grade level or higher.
From preschool through 12th grade, our schools provide meaningful learning opportunities that challenge students to grow, discover their strengths, and become well-rounded individuals.
Box Elder schools facilitate learning and growth through the professional learning communities that we have. Every employee is really engaged in the work that we do. They love the students, they care about them, and they're seeking to help them every day.
Our Independent Life Skills Center offers a specialized and supportive learning environment designed to meet the unique needs of our special education students. Through our Spanish dual language immersion program, students gain a rich bilingual experience while developing proficiency in a second language. With a strong emphasis on STEM learning, including robotics, computer science, and opportunities to earn college credit, we prepare students for success beyond high school.
Here at Box Elder, we have so many classes for concurrent enrollment AP that help these kids take one step to their future and get to their future goals and ambitions faster.
We also offer robust career and technical education programs, including opportunities through organizations such as FFA, which prepare students for future careers while building practical skills and leadership development. Our wide range of athletics and fine arts programs allow students to explore their talents, build confidence, and develop teamwork and leadership skills. Box Elder and Bear River have the longest continuous back-to-back rivalry football game in Utah. Social and emotional learning is at the core of our curriculum, embedded throughout every grade level. Our culture fosters positive student learning relationships and provides counseling support at every stage of learning. As a model professional learning community, we are committed to creating an inspiring, collaborative, and supportive environment for students, faculty, and staff.
I have enjoyed working for Box Elder School District because of all the support I received as a new teacher. There are amazing role models, and the continuous professional development helps give me the confidence I need to be a successful teacher.
At Box Elder School District, learning is everything.
Support I received as a new teacher. There are amazing role models.
Any questions? We're good. Okay.
Thanks for the treat.
Yeah, thank you. I tore mine open before I realized there was a QR code on the back. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Okay, we're moving to H6, the new grading policy data from the first trimester. And Mr. Meekum is going to do that for us. Go ahead. I'm fine with you there. Anybody else? Thank you.
So during the summer, we switched our 8th through 12th grade grading policy to reflect 100% on assessment, where kids are graded on the work they do and not necessarily on the work that they may or may not have done, practice in particular. We just want you to know that practice is critical. I don't care what you're into, you got to practice and you got to get good at it. And so, you know, emphasizing how important practice is for the competition, for the assessment, and good feedback and all of that is still really, really important. Anyway, obviously there were some people that are like, this isn't how I was graded in school, and you know, I'm not sure this is going to hurt our students. And so I really wanted, just after first trimester, and I know we're only 60 days in and we'll have to keep, you know, looking at this, but I thought there was some really good data that we wanted to share. So first of all, obviously all data could be better. Like, I hate the fact that we have, you know, how many students, 8%. And by the way, I didn't create some of this was created by a third party, Alan Shakespeare and data, whatever that's called.
Aspire.
Well, no.
Oh, the
I
data.
mean, he got the data from Aspire, but anyway,
Data
his company
is called.
kind of, what is it called?
Data IO, so in out.
That. Anyway, so right now, I don't know what that color is on the left. I think it's blue. And the one on the right is another color, not blue. And you can see that from 24 to 25, the number of students earning 1 or more Fs went down in every one of our schools. So we go to 100% assessment, we saw less kids have an F across the board in all 5 schools. Do we want that number to be 0? Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't want that? But I was excited to see that less kids got F's first try than they did a year ago, when they could put in their homework and any kind of practice, and all of that was part of their grade. We went into some of the subgroups, and just so you know, I'll just announce the subgroups to start with, but ELL, students with disabilities would be the SWD, economically disadvantaged, and then Spanish speakers were just some categories that were asked. And so, again, same question, how many students, 1 or more Fs? And again, you'll see the numbers are a little higher in these subgroups than what we had previously. But again, with the exception of our students with disabilities, they saw a 1% increase in this. And it's interesting that almost 80% of our subgroups in these areas and all these questions made improvements, but we do have a couple places, and you'll see that along the way. But again, 3 out of these 4 subgroups, sometimes ever so slightly, but again saw that, okay? Now we're talking about a kid that got D or higher, and just to clarify, a D minus, a D, a D plus. If it's a D-ish, again, 1 or more Ds or higher, it doesn't mean that they didn't have an F, but again, people that had Ds or higher, again, except for Sunrise, they saw just it was like a 0.5% less, but everybody else, again, saw more kids got Ds or higher than they did the previous year. Subgroups, again, economically disadvantaged, a little bit less, but similar as we go along.
Can you go back to the Ds?
Yes.
So we're saying that more people got Ds than previous years?
Ds are higher than the previous year when they had less Ds or higher.
So that's D, C, D, A, all grades.
Right, everything up. But we just said, what does it look like for Ds or higher? That, you know, kids had at least 1 D or higher. We saw an increase compared to last year. And I'm just going to keep bumping this up, and again, stop me whenever you're ready. Again, students earning at least 1 C or higher, again, with our new grading. And by the way, there's going to be a point, and I can't remember, but the colors shift. That wasn't mine. And again, the one on the right of the 2 is our 25 current trimester, first trimester. So again, up, up, up. Sunrise, very slightly, just a little bit below. Again, all 5 schools generally saw more kids got Cs, 1 C or higher, than they did the previous year. Again, subgroup, Cs or higher, positive, positive, about the same, and again, positive. Students earning 1 or more Bs or higher. Again, now I think the colors shifted, did they not? I did not do that.
You're correct. I think they just switched sides, or maybe not.
No, they actually flipped. It's still the right side. They actually, I don't know why I didn't create that, and anyway, but just so you know, the one on the right is the 25 school year, even though the color just changed. By the way, what is the one on the left? Red. Okay, that would not be my choice. But anyway, up, 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 up. Sunrise, even a slight up. All 5 schools up. Oh, sorry. Question? Oh, this looks better red than that does.
Yeah, that looks orange.
Okay, that looks not the red.
That's orange.
Subgroups, again, looking ELL, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, Spanish speakers, all of them, again, more kids got Bs this year, first try, than they got Bs last year. Now, again, some may say, oh, we're going to see just a plummet. And that's not what the data says. We actually are holding, if not making, improvements in all areas. Again, students earning 1 or more A's, up, 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 up. Every school and collectively, more students earned A's first trimester than last year, first trimester on a different grading scale. Subgroups, ELL up, students with disabilities slightly up, economically disadvantaged slightly down, Spanish speakers up. So it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect. We know that. All 5 secondary schools, just kind of in summary, saw a reduction in students who received 1 or more Fs by 1 to 3% overall. Students showed great improvement in 93.3% of the tracked areas. And what I mean that is, you know, less Fs, Ds are higher, Cs are higher, Bs are higher, As are higher. And you look at all across all the districts, 93% showed improvement compared to 24. Subgroups showed improvement in 80% of the tracked areas. Again, that's not the same, and we got to be cognizant of all of our subgroups and continue to work with our, and I won't say those words, but ATSI, and we'll talk about more about another time. And again, more kids got 1 or more A's than we did previously, with Box Elder Middle School and Box Elder High School actually kind of leading the way on that, if you're interested. So here's the impact. To see this kind of improvement when all grades were based on 100% assessment is very promising. We congratulate our teachers and staff and our students for their extra efforts. They worked hard. Our teachers worked outstanding. Staff to support this. You know, they get to have a retake. They get a chance to do it again. When it's 100% assessment, they get a chance to keep learning, keep growing. And our teachers work their tails off, and I think they're awesome. But we're not where we want to be. We don't like people failing. We want our graduation rates to be 100%. I mean, there's all these things we want to continue to improve, but all things considering, I got to let you know, generally when you make a change, you see a dip before you see improvement, but kudos to our staff and our students. Questions? Yeah, we're gonna keep track of it. I'm gonna kind of do a second try, a third try. It's just a one little snapshot, but it's a snapshot, and I liked it. So
I have a quick question. So I don't know if you have any of this data, but like, as you mentioned, students can continue to learn and retake the assessments and do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any data tracked as far as like how are the teachers seeing more engagement in the learning and wanting to learn before they're taking the reassessment versus, like, just for example, like sometimes kids are like, okay, I took an assessment, I didn't get, I'm going to take it right again, instead of like, I really want to learn this and do better. I'm just.
Yeah, so first of all, students can't do that. Every teacher team has the autonomy as a team to say, what is it going to look like for someone to qualify for a retake? And they have to do certain things, and failing and taking it over right then is not one of the options. I would like to know, I think one thing that was probably a big impact, kids that are potentially not consistently doing homework would get buried on the old system. You don't do your homework, you don't do your homework, you don't do your homework. I've missed 3 or 4 days. Now I've missed 18 assignments. Holy cow, this hole is getting bigger and bigger, and I can't breathe. And then they stop working. Because not every assignment is graded and put on their grade, they can get out of some of these potential struggles that they get into. So I really think maybe some of our, maybe, I don't know what the right word, maybe less motivated or have other things going on in their lives that cause them not to be able to do every homework assignment every day. They have hope that they can jump back in and say, let's get going again. They might not be able to take the retake, but it doesn't bury their grade to where I can never recover if I have 7 missed assignments.
Just one quick follow-up question. How have the teachers been spending more time working with students individually before, after school, during prep time or whatever, in order to help these kids that are like, I know the test counts, so I really need
I don't have a quantified number. I can just say absolutely. They have to. And again, that's why how important it is for us to continue to compensate our employees well. They work tremendously hard. They do a great job. They put extra time in, and that's why having a great COLA as much as we can, staying competitive, keeping who we have, all that's really, really, really important. And they do. They spend a lot of time before school, after school. I hope they're never giving up their lunch, but I'm guessing that there are people that do that. And students are trying to figure it out, and they're learning that, hey, I got to work hard anyway. You know, everybody drives their driver's education. They drive and practice so that they can pass the test. And I think our students are rising to the challenge.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, we did have some folks that came and spoke in public comment probably 3 months ago, and were concerned about this. And so when Keith shared this with me, I just was really, really happy to see the results of this. Also, I've had a grandma of a student that's an 8th grader that was quite upset with this and didn't think it was right. And I had to spend a lot of time convincing her that it was correct. And I will tell you that just yesterday I got to go to a parent-teacher conference with that grandma and talked to the teachers of this particular grandson of this grandparent, who's also my grandson. And he has struggled up until now, and for some reason this system works for him better than the old system, because he's one of those kids that maybe doesn't have as much support at home as he should, and so that's why Grandma and Grandpa are involved. And I will report that with 3 A's and a couple of B's, he has maybe one of the best report cards he's ever had. And so I was able to, thank heavens, convince this grandma that this really is what we should be doing, is assessing what they're learning, not what maybe parents are helping with homework or a science project. We actually know what the kids are learning with this type of assessment. And so I was very excited when Keith shared this with me. It's been 3 or 4 weeks ago at least. And then to be able to go to parent-teacher conference and see the results and have the teachers talk about he's got it figured out. He knows when he can come in after school, after he's done this, this, and this. So he's done some relearning, and they've got it down. And these teachers are just gung-ho to try to help. And it was kind of nice because one of the teachers, he told us about all this and talked about how Deegan was doing, and we talked about a few things. And I mentioned being a teacher, and he goes, "So you're a teacher? Where do you work at?" So I was able to go in and not have any influence by my position. I was just a grandpa and that felt so good. So thanks, Keith, for compiling
and I
this.
just maybe one final comment. K7 has been doing this for 15 years. I mean, they've been 100% assessment. They've had opportunities to retake stuff. The difference is it's not a letter grade, it's a 3-2-1. So it's not like, where did this come from? But helping kids know what they need to learn, giving them great support, teaching, an opportunity to relearn for those that I need more time. Not everybody learns at the same time. This gives them an opportunity to retake and learn. And yes, it is a little more taxing on our teachers. And I'm not going to disagree with that, but it also, our teachers gave extra effort before, because we've always had retakes.
Mm-hmm.
You need to remember that. Not always, but in the last 5 years or so, we've had retakes. So it's not like the teachers didn't work. They've been working hard to give kids multiple opportunities to succeed. And anyway, we'll keep monitoring. I'll bring back some more data, but I'm happy.
And I would just like to clarify that sometimes when we hear assessment, we think high stakes test. And that's not what all of these are. This isn't like end of unit, everything rides on this. I think as teachers, we know that, but I don't know if everybody understands. When we say assessments, there's project-based learning, there's presentations, there's little quizzes, there's different things. So anytime they're assessing what students know, however they're assessing that, that's an assessment. It's not like, go practice this. We're not testing you on your practice. We're testing you on when we're trying to find out what you know. So I think that's a good clarification when we're communicating with community members, like my kid doesn't test well. That's not the only thing we're talking about here. And I know teachers, and I know lots of teachers, they make every effort to meet the kids where they are and give them alternative assessments that can test their knowledge, even if like the main thing is a test and the kid says, and it's not doable in every subject, but they'll say, hey, if you can demonstrate your learning, here's a project, you can do it, then that can do it. So I think the teachers are fabulous.
Michaela, did you have something to add?
I know my one of my younger brothers, he's in 9th grade, so like this system affected him. He like views it as he doesn't have to do any assignments or participate. He just has to hurry and cram in stuff for the test. and so like he's not doing anything in class, I guess. So I know that, or at least in his, I think it's his language arts class, they have their assignments that like don't go in their grades, go in their citizenship, and so like his citizenship's bad, but his grade's good, I guess. And then I know like I know a lot of my friends who have that like do that because like why do an assignment because it's not gonna go in your grade. And I know a lot of friends who have lost their like GP or like their 4.0 because of the grading system, and so that's been a little hard. And a lot of at least like the juniors that I know are like stressed more because they're like, oh shoot, I have this test and I have to do good, or like if I don't get this like this many or like 8 out of 10 or something, I'm gonna like fail this class. And I don't know, it's like seeing like the I don't know, the data is like, it looks like it's working. It's like I don't have any problems with it. I just know that a lot of people are like stressed about all of this.
I appreciate you sharing your perspective. This idea of I'm never going to practice to survive in our world. I mean, at some point we all have to know we got to practice to be successful. And I bet you your brother's he's gonna figure that out, because he's not gonna be able to keep it up for long. It's kind of hard to keep all those balloons in, but I appreciate your perspective. I will tell you that I had 2 kids that were 4.0s, and they probably shouldn't have been. I love them. They're hard workers, but they did every assignment. They practiced hard. They did everything they could do to get the A. And, but if it would have been just based on assessment, I'm not sure. In other words, I think we hide proficiency at times because we gather all this other stuff. And again, thank you for that. I do recognize, I think this will normalize and again, monitor data, look at practices, targeted teaching practices, etc. We'll keep doing that. So thank you for your perspective.
Anything else?
I also feel like it's a little bit of a culture change on the way you're viewing testing / assessments. I was talking, I have a 5th grader who I was like, do you guys get tested a lot? Oh, we get so many tests. And she, oh, it's like all the time. And then we talked about it, and after talking about it and like explaining, well, how much of the test, what kind of test is it, and explaining how after you have this test, does your teacher then get to pull out people that don't understand the material? Because she's like, why don't we just get to be test on units 1, 2, and 3 instead of just a test on 1 and a test on 2, you know? And then it says, well, if you didn't understand 1 and the teacher doesn't know you didn't do well on 1, or you aren't understanding that unit and you're then testing on 3, then that teacher just missed a whole bunch of time to be able to go back to make sure they're understanding 1. And so once I was talking to my daughter about that, she then understood and was really quite kind about the whole testing. But I think it's a culture shift that as we continue to do this, then students are prepared and they understand what it is. We're not testing you just to get, I don't know, to get you anxious. It's so that we can know what you know. I don't know. And not everybody's a test taker, which is me, but anyway.
Thanks, Keith, for the information, and I'm looking forward to getting like end of year or whenever you'll touch back with us. Okay.
I know there's not a public comment time, but may I?
Regarding this specific, that would be, Doug's a good friend of mine. I've known Doug. But do you understand if we allow for one?
It's just a comment.
Go ahead.
My oldest boy was failing the class. He would hurry and get because he was not getting assignments in. He'd finish them and throw them in his locker. My wife went in and talked to the teacher, and she talked to him, and they went to his locker, and they dug them all out. If assignments are missed, after a week or 2, they're not turned in, talk to the child. They may have them in their locker. That's all
Thanks, Doug. All right, we're going to move on to item H7, the monthly financial report.
It might be better to follow along on your own devices. It's kind of small up there. I would direct us to the top portion of this. We're roughly halfway through the school year. The majority school districts are funded. Every school is funded 60% from state revenue. Our state revenue comes in once a month. So whatever we're allotted for the entire year, we get 1/12 every month. Whereas our property tax money, which is about 30% of our budget, comes in the bulk of this time of the year. So that leaves that we, up front, we're kind of front loading our revenues or from state funds or from prior year savings, and then this time of year we kind of get a windfall when we replenish our accounts. So what we can see here, line 15, we've collected approximately 56% of our revenue that we budgeted for in what we call the general fund or the operations fund, Fund 10. That is in line with expectations. Halfway through the year, we're a little bit ahead of schedule on there. And if we go down, and I noticed there's a formula error in this one that didn't bring over the prior year comparison and on that same line. However, I went back and looked at it, and we're about 54% last year compared to 57% this year on revenue collected. So we're in line with what we expected, what we've done in prior years. That's good because we want to have a continuous, steady collection of these things. We don't want to have a spike up and down because then that signals a problem with collections, especially in property taxes. We're not seeing that. If we then go down further, and the operations fund, Fund 10, has many different categories. And I won't go through all the categories, but if we focus on line 30, the percent of expenditures expended throughout the year is 43% year to date. Last year, it was 42.7. So we're not seeing a spike in expenditures, which is a good thing. The majority of our expenditures in this category come from personnel. 85% of all expenditures of the district come from personnel. So we're in line with expenditures. We don't have a spike there. And this trend continues throughout all these pages. We have 8 pages here. I won't go through all 8 pages just I don't want to bore anybody. I love numbers. It tells a story, but not everybody may feel the same way. We are in line with expenditures, in line with our budget, both on revenues and expenditures. We are performing as expected financially. We have sufficient funds to cover our expenses, and we are within our budget, and we don't have any areas at the current point where we need to modify our budget for unexpected items. With that being said, are there any questions from the board about the financial statement, financing in general, revenues, et cetera? Okay.
Thank you, Neil.
Sure.
Appreciate that and appreciate what you provide for us to look at every month and the explanation. All right. Moving on to H8, board committee reports. Do any board members have any committee reports they'd like to share with us right now?
So I'm on the, what committee am I on? Policy. And I guess wanted to share just how much I enjoy that and being able to review and read the policies that our school district does implement and use. And some of those policies are 26 pages long, and they get really long and hard to read and to stay awake while reading. But I just take a lot of pride in taking that time and reading those policies and making sure that that it is good for our district and that we are on a good projection, and that I know also within the policy committee they have a 5-year review so that we make sure all of our policies are staying accurate and on topic and on date, and make sure that we're not overlooking things. And I'm just really I really love that committee meeting because it's been so good for me to learn, but also just to understand how everybody works and how all of the different groups, not not groups, like departments work, and so we just have some really good committee members in there, and it's a fun committee.
Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate your time. That's also a time-intensive committee to be on, so thank you for that. Thanks for your dedication. Any other committee reports? All right, Michaela, do you have a student board member report for us?
Okay. Hold on. On Monday, I went to Bear River and talked to their student council, and that was really fun. They were in the middle of planning their Sweethearts dance, which is on January 24th. And then Box Elders is on February 7th, and I haven't heard anything about the planning for that one. They were also planning like a spirit bus for their drill team's region, which is tomorrow, which I thought was really cool. Like, I've never heard of a spirit bus, so I was like, that's kind of sick.
What is a spirit bus?
It's like a bus that'll take any students who want to go down, because I think it's I think it's at UVU. So they take they have like a sign-up sheet, and depending on how many students sign up, they can get one, so they can take all of those students down to go watch, so they don't have to like drive down there. So that was cool.
Could be mistaken, Mr. Minkin may know, but I think the kids have to pay a few bucks to pay pay for the trip. So, but it is neat.
It's like, I think it's like $5 or something. It's not a lot. So they were doing that, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I asked them, I was like, is there anything that like you guys are struggling with? And as like it's January and halfway through the year, some of them were struggling with like waking up super early, and I was like, I'm sorry. It's like, I can't really do anything about that, but yeah, they're like, it's kind of getting a little hard, but I was like, as it all does. And then, I don't know, Box Elder, I haven't really heard much about that kind of stuff, but they're all just kind of, I know some people are, as midterm is coming up, it's a little, I don't know, with like the grading policy, everybody's like cramming in stuff. And I know a lot of, I don't know if it happened at Bear River because I just learned this, but there was like a policy change or like a grading change for sports classes. It's no longer like a grade or like a letter grade. It's like a pass or fail, and so it doesn't count as our like commute, or I don't know how to say the word, but like our GPA, and so it doesn't like help like for credits and stuff. So I know a lot of people are questioning that.
Yeah, I could comment to that if you would. So, how do I want to say this? So, for example, if a kid participates in a sport, grade 9 through 12, finishes season, they could actually earn a half a credit of part skills. Well, rather than giving a grade, it's a part, I mean, you did the sport or you didn't do the sport. You finished the season or you didn't, and that was a pass-fail. They could actually do it a second time in a different sport and learn individual lifetime activities for another half a credit. Again, pass-fail. Also, there are, not all teams, but there are some teams that have a 6-hour athletic hour, and in most situations, or in some situations, they actually have the coach is actually the teacher, but in some of the situations, it's not a teacher. And so in those situations, it's just kind of a pass-fail because we don't have a teacher teaching. Anyway, that's kind of the gist of it. They still are earning credit. And just so you know, a pass-fail does not hurt or hinder a person's GPA. It just changes the denominator, and it stays what it is. And so that pass or fail does not help or hinder a 4.0 or any other GPA situation. So although it is subtle, it was just trying to become consistent north and south of the district. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, yeah, I was questioning that. I was like, I didn't know what it was. So, yeah, I was like, that's pretty much what's going on.
So cool of you to go to Bear River and really like be there and ask them. Thank you for doing that.
It's like I
You're-
haven't met with box elders because there's this. They meet like first hour, and that's when I have my drill practice. So I can't
Oh.
really. I have to wait till third try to go
Right.
to them. But
Well,
I
good.
talk to them like during lunch or in the hallways or in classes. So.
Good. Thank you so much. You are an important part of our board, and we're glad you're here with us.
Can I ask a question? So Keith, on the fail, if they get a fail, it doesn't hurt their GPA? On the sports?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm
Thank
like-
you. If you fail, yeah, it's going to hurt your GPA. But like a pass fail, if you got to pass the class, but when you pass it, it doesn't. Thank you. You no. You earn the credit, but all you get is a P. Now, if you fail, it's just like any other F. It would hurt you. I thank you for that. In my mind, you're not going to. You should not fail an athletic hour, but that's a whole nother discussion. The point being, though, if it's a pass, it does not go in as an A or an F. It's just you passed it, and so that. Thank you. I never thought you would fail a pass fail, even though I said that. I need to talk to those people if they're failing a pass fail.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
All right, we're going to move on to H9, and we appreciate these teachers, these employees from each of our schools that are doing such great work, teachers and support staff. I love that we have this list to look over. I find the ones that I know and try to like mention to them that I saw their name and I appreciate the work they're doing, and we appreciate all of them. Okay, we're going to move to policy review. And we have changes. The first one is a change from approved negotiation. It's for information only. Who's gonna, any questions on that one as you read it? Or does anyone want to speak to it?
I think, Karina, you can speak to that. It's because of the.
Certificated sickness, absences, and leaves?
Because we negotiated it, it's something that's in place, we just had to get it in policy. It's the 3125. 3126. Is it 26? We must have
It's
missed.
listed at two different. It says 26 on the leave and 25 on the.
That's probably a
must be a
typing
typo
error.
right
It
there.
should be 3126, it looks like.
26, okay.
But I'm looking for the red. What did we change with this one?
This speaks to the dollar value that we negotiated for conferences for training for professional development. We increased it from 6,000 to 10,000 negotiations, but didn't update our policy.
Oh, yeah, okay. So that was in the
No, it's
negotiation
just one
agreement.
that when we have the negotiated agreement signed, it puts it into policy, so we really can't say no.
Practicing it, and
Right.
we've been giving them that 10,000
Yes.
for their conferences. It just wasn't ever updated in the
Okay.
policy.
All right.
So,
Negotiations.
Yeah.
That somehow did not get transferred into this policy.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, policies on first reading.
A couple of questions and clarifications. Policy 3010 on employee bullying and hazing. At the first of the policy, it talks about, it means school employees with the intent to cause harm. And then it also talks about, I got it right, students. So there's a blending of both students and employees. And then page 9 is where I was looking. One of the definitions or one of the things, page 9, item 4, it doesn't include, page 4, sorry, I got that backwards. Page 4, item 9. Yeah, and this one, it just talks about, involves one or more students. It doesn't include the employees part. Is it supposed to be a policy for both sides, or?
No, this is a policy for employees, and there's a bullying policy in the 5000 series for students. So this is involving the employee and a student. It could be the employee is bullying a student.
But it also up front talked about how an employee could bully an employee.
Yes.
So here it's just talking about only the student. It doesn't refer to an employee bullying another employee. So it just was hard to understand.
This policy has been a problem for a few years as far as it used to be one policy altogether, then they separated them and they made it the state model policy. It completely aligned with the student policy, and so the term student and employee were used interchangeably in places that were not appropriate. They're updating it, and we've been giving feedback to the state to say, like, this needs to be more accurately reflect where the student is involved and where the employee is involved. For now, we've kept it aligned. We tried to sort through it, and just as you said, it's incredibly confusing.
No, if it's an employee policy, it should say employee to employee or employee to a student. But then all of a sudden it throws in a student to a student. Anyway, you bring up a valid point. We still interpret it, you're an employee, but they do that with a couple of policies. The state does, where they kind of mesh them, even though we have separate ones. And again, trying to stay consistent with the state model policy is what we've tried to do, knowing that there's stuff in here probably that doesn't need to be in here.
So that, all the red, that is directly from the state model
I'm sure it is. I'm
policy.
just saying it is incredibly confusing. And one of the things in one of the breakouts that I went to, it talked about how our policies, if we want people to live by them, they need to be in language that, people can understand. They specifically were talking about the attendance one. But not only in that one, but there's F1 on page 6, 11 on page 9. There's a lot of ambiguity and confusion. So just noting that. Then on policy 5005.
Oh, yes.
Safe schools. This one, the only thing I had noted is that on page 26, so I read them even though I'm not on the policy committee. I read all the pages. 26, we talk about your student and Megan Bushnell, which is great. I love Megan Bushnell, but I thought in previous policies we put the title. We just put.
We'll get that updated immediately.
You said 26,
I'll note
right?
it.
Page 26.
Page 26.
Yeah.
We should absolutely be
I will
referring
just,
to the
and we
position.
also have, contact Liz Ellis. That should be but I will tell you this form, and I'm glad you brought it up, Karen. Thank you. We actually are trying to get a unified. We don't love this form. We didn't like the old form, but we're working on a form that will include all of the stuff, and we'll have it here for second read. And it's going to have the appropriate position so that we don't ever have to change it.
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you. We had talked about that, but I forgot that part was still on the bottom.
Since you're on there, can we bring up a recent minor change that we made just to be universal across the district? This state model policy kind of recommended that you define which weapons. It used to kind of say, didn't it before, knife and gun. Now it just says a firearm and doesn't explicitly say knife. So we added knife in to be more restrictive in our district and say those are not allowed at school. We've also been meeting as a safe school committee to define and align what will be the consequence that every school holds to for bringing a knife, that whether it's intentional, unintentional, and how it increases for those things, so that we don't have as much differences happening amongst administrators. So I just want to point that out for the board in case
And then the last question I have is on policy 5274.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one.
Well, I just need you to explain it. Remember when I said they said make it in language people can understand?
Yeah.
So could you just explain that?
Kind of going back a little bit, there was a time when transgender students could potentially play for another, for the team they're transitioning towards, right? Or to the gender they're transitioning towards. And that has been stopped by legislators that is not the case, although it's at the Supreme Court right now. So we'll see what happens. But basically, you're required to participate in the sport of your birth gender. However, and now to the however. For example, there are a couple things. If I'm a female athlete and I want to play baseball, I can. And the reason why is I don't have a baseball team. Because baseball and softball, although softball is for women, baseball is for men and women. And Jesse Roberts actually talked about a female pitcher on Dixie's baseball team that shut out the bees. Like he says, he used the word, they destroyed us. We could not hit her. She was a pitcher. But that's a couple of the exceptions. Same with football. A female could, there's not a football team, so they could play football if they, and then there are some that are designated female, and if they are, they have to play female. But to this red part here, there is a committee that's already formed that's made up of doctors, lawyers, mental health providers, and the state, UHSAA, has created this committee to work with individuals on a one-on-one basis, and it has to go through this committee, and it's called the School Activity Eligibility Commission. And I can get you the link of what that is, but that committee it's formed with multiple professionals in a variety of settings. There is a way for a student to go into that commission, and based on criteria, etc., they could play in a sport not of their birth gender. I don't know much about that. In fact, I just learned about it, and we actually clicked the link and went, oh, here's all the people. They already have their names of who it is and what their professional qualifications are to help justify that. I am interested, like Julie just said, what's the Supreme Court going to say? Because it says no at all, and it'll be interesting to see what will happen. So stay tuned on that one.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have a motion for policies on first reading?
I move that we accept policies on first reading.
I'll second.
All right, we've had some discussion. Any discussion left? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Moving on to second reading. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve policies on second reading.
I second that.
Any discussion to that motion? Any questions?
Just a discussion again on the naming of facilities. I feel like that we should probably stay consistent with our other part of that policy and at least require a 10% for the naming rights.
Okay, I don't know. That's noted. Any other questions or discussion on that? All right, we go back to that motion for second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we have 6 in favor and 1 opposed. That motion passes. 5, sorry, I'm missing Danielle. 5 and 1. Okay, that motion passes. We are now going to move on to board discussion items. A review of policies, 1034, 1035, and 1036. All of you should have received that conflict of interest form from Marcy, and I hope we've emailed them back to her. Does anyone prefer a paper copy?
Do you have any paper copies?
I do not. I'm sure.
She didn't send one with
So we don't have one.
I'll send it to you.
And you can just email that form back, right, to her? I don't know about this review of Okay.
The same thing.
Okay, so we should have reviewed that on our own. USBA conference report. Does anyone have anything? We've heard about from a couple of you on what a course you went to. I want to comment, I feel like that the USBA board has put together, they're just working harder and harder every year to put breakout sessions that really apply to things that matter to us as a board. And I think all of us could comment on courses we attended and we loved. So, but if anybody
Can
has...
I just make a quick comment going along with Karen's policy? Like, our policy should be user-friendly, and that is a great use of AI. And that's one of the things, like, even for us, we can take that policy, put it in AI and say, can you summarize this for me in layman's, I don't know, whatever. And you tweak it a little bit. The more you get, I went to a class on using AI as school board members, like things that we can do to, because like I read through those policies too, and I'm like, by page 25, I'm like, my eyes are swimming. I'm like, I'm reading, but I don't know what I'm comprehending. And I saw those things like with student, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go back and read what it's gonna, like, but AI can do that. And one school district, and I wasn't in this class where they mentioned it, but they like have a chat bot on their website where parents can access, like they can say, here's the policy, what does this mean? Or they can say, where is this policy? What does it mean? How do I, like, student bullying, what is it? And so I'm not saying I know how to do that. I'm just saying I thought that was really interesting because I do think that's a real concern. We want our procedures to follow our policies and to be effective in them. We want people to know where they are and where to find them. And the way policies are written, you kind of have to have legal language because it's a legal type document. But if we can translate it in a way that would be useful to us and the public, I just thought that was a real kind of a light bulb moment for me that, like, oh yeah, we could do that. So that's my...
Tiffany, we have Dave Blake, who's created a policy bot to make things more simple, and we're testing it and vetting it within district. And I think the intention was to release it for parents at some point too, correct? So we do have one. Maybe we should share the link with the board too.
That would be awesome. I know that was Ogden School District who has a chat bot for HR issues for teachers as well as policy, and it's right on their website. It's pretty awesome. So I'm excited to hear that we're on the way to that.
Doing that.
Yep.
Another, just to highlight, Brian mentioned the breakout about making sure that we're using the funds as best as we can, and specifically with facilities. And like you said, that was Jordan School District that put that on. But one of the things that they brought up is that they have been out and they acquired, I think it was an old Kmart or Walmart facility, and how that helped them be able to put some of their, I think they used it for some of their special ed things and different things like that, and that it went over really well in the community because it was able to show that they're not always needing something new and shiny. And so that's something that we could probably look at, especially, we've still got Foothill School, and maybe looking at maybe reutilizing that for a different purpose. The other thing that Jordan made mention of is that they have 240 portables, and they said they didn't think that was necessarily a bad thing, because some years some of their elementaries have a few, they need them, and the next year another elementary, and so rather than building space in all of them to, because of those fluctuation in numbers, the portables could help them. So I guess that was a new thought on portables that I hadn't thought of.
Anyone else?
I just have a comment. I always like the breakout sessions. The USBA does an awesome job. But I was so impressed, and once in a while I get a comment from a person that will say, oh, we have such rotten kids today, they're not as good as when we went to school and all that. But when I saw those young ambassadors from BYU, I was just so impressed with those kids. They were just so impressive, and it just shows what great kids we have out there, and that there's so many wonderful good things going on in the world, and sometimes we don't always see that. And I just couldn't get over how good they were and how positive they were, and it was really a cool experience, I thought.
I had one on AI, but I think I'm going to bring that up for a future board meeting. I'll bring it up at that point. So
One thing,
go ahead.
Sorry, I went to the Building Better Schools as well, and one of my favorite sentences that they said in there, it says, you can do anything you want, just not everything you want. And I think that's a really good thing to remember is, you know, as a district, we could do anything, but we can't do everything. And it's very limited. I mean, if you want to put a price tag on building all these new things or utilizing what we have or doing, you know, it's just we can't do everything. We can do something, and what we choose to do is important, I guess. And then the one session that I really loved, it was called Remoralizing the Demoralized. And basically, I feel like as a board, maybe we could work more on what is our core value and how I mean, we do have a lot of that already written out, and just remembering that and using it in a lot of our decisions and making sure that we are following our moral values as much as we can. And when you have that moral, you're more uplifted and you're able to feel good about the decisions you make. And anyway, it was just such a powerful class, and I loved it so much.
Piggybacking on that one, I don't think I was in the same session, but the BYU professor that's been doing this, and I guess they just had a conference on this. They said that they're finding that about 87% of the teachers who are disgruntled, it's more of a demoralization than a burnout or a salary issue. Did he say that in yours?
Well, I was in that class as well, and he talks about the difference between demoralization and burnout. Burnout is when, like, I physically do not have the time or energy to do my job. I don't feel like I can do my job. Demoralization is when there's external forces that say, because of this policy, because of this, you can't do your job. Like, they feel morally guided to be a teacher and to educate and to influence students, and they feel constrained by outside forces that they can't do their job, and that's demoralization. So I thought he made a clear distinction between burnout versus demoralization, and we can't, like, and they kind of cross over too. Some are both demoralized and burned out, but the things that we can affect, like, let teachers be teachers. Let them train them, let them do their jobs, and when they start getting all these outside influences and forces that saying, no, you can't say this word, or you've got to do it this way, or you've got to post your curriculum on the website before you can even teach it. You know, those kind of things are really demoralizing for teachers because they are professionals who are trained in this, and to have people outside of the profession saying, I don't think you should do that, that's not what it is, that's a real demoralization factor. And so when people feel empowered to do the job that they are called to do, and Stephanie, I was sitting next to Stephanie in this, and I felt that as a school board member even, like when we talk about our core, like why am I in a school board? Why is this even important to me? And so sometimes it's good for me to remember, like, I value education. I think there is no greater investment that we can make in our young people than to give them opportunities and equitable opportunities regardless of where you live or where you were born or who your parents are or what support you have at home. You have an opportunity to learn in the best learning environment possible. And that's a core value that I personally hold. And so when I make my decisions, and I've tried to do this throughout but I think we've all been demoralized over the last little bit. I may be speaking out of turn, but like for me, it's been demoralizing as a board member. And so that session was really powerful to me to help me refocus and refine and say, hey, no, there is a reason I'm doing this. And obviously there are constraints and there's struggles and there's challenges, but I believe in this and this is why I'm doing it. And I'm going to make those decisions based on those values, not necessarily on the outside influences. Like I have, you know, there's obviously you have outside influences, so that makes sense. But that was what I got out from that burnout versus demoralization, and and things we can do for our teachers to help them feel like as school leaders, and what we can do to encourage and support and let them be who they think they are called to be, you know, like that's their moral core.
And it was interesting too because they brought up a lot about parent support and how teachers, like, it can be from outside policies and legislative or things, but it can also be parents not saying, like, and you know, even as a parent, you can't make your student go to their classes. You know, you drop them off and you hope that they stay at the school and they don't go away. But, you know, having a parent say and active and looking at their grades and being supportive on the assignments that are being, you know, requested of them, and just, you know, having, I just love the word community and how a community has teachers, a community has parents, a community has children, a community has members, and all of us working together to uplift and to lift all of us together is such a powerful thing. And I think our students feed off of that so much when we as adults are lifting and helping each other get to something better. And I think sometimes we can get distracted by other things.
I tried to go to that one and I ended up in the wrong room. And about 10 minutes in, I was like, Brian, I don't think this is the one I intended to go to. But the one I went to was good also. Anyway, thanks everybody. I appreciate those comments. These are listed on board discussion items that we just want to reiterate. Superintendent said he didn't really have anything to say about the hotline training other than it is his responsibility, as it was my responsibility, to make sure that you all got that training, and it's up to you, but you are supposed to watch that video and receive.
Tiffany,
Yes.
we didn't ask if she had anything.
Michaela, did you have
you have a
something
class that
from
you-
a course from the conference that you'd like to talk to us about?
Yeah. I went to one. It was like a company with like virtual reality goggles where they like went
I
to.
saw people walking around with those on. Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. They have like this program on it where like students can. I think it was mainly for like graduated students like going into college, trying to figure out like what they want to go into, and it had like different like programs where they could like experience different like careers. Like there was one where you like change the oil in like a truck, or there was one where you help save someone from like a car, or I think there was one where you could like I don't remember all of them, but I thought that would be really cool to like, I don't know, bring around, because they had somebody do one, and they showed it like on the TV in the classroom or the room, and it was like really different, and it kind of showed like exactly what it was. It was the oil changing, and like I would never would have thought about that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And they say that like a lot of kids that they've gone to schools for that have found careers that like they didn't know existed or didn't really know how it worked. And I thought that would be cool to like kind of bring around, because I know a lot of kids, especially sophomores, are trying to figure out what they want to do. That would help them like get that hands-on experience without just, it was like a 5-minute like virtual thing, and it had so many different like activities and stuff for you to do. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think it was called, I took pictures of the paper. They wouldn't let me bring one home. I think it was like Transfer Trek. It was like, I can show anyone, but I thought that was really cool.
It wasn't. It's run through DWS, and they said they'd be happy to bring, they have like 40 of the VR sets that they bring to the schools, and then they run the program. So all they need is a spot in the school to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you enjoy the conference, Michaela?
Yeah, it was a blast. I had fun.
We were so glad that you were there. So thank you for representing us well.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you wanted to share? I didn't mean to thank you, Stephanie, for making that.
I went to the student board one. I think it was Provo. It was the Provo student board members. They presented on like what they do and everything. I thought it was really cool. They do have 2 board members, one from each school. Oh, yeah. I don't remember the names of the schools, but I thought that was really cool because they like transfer information between each other. And then Logan also has 2 board members, which I thought was like really cool. It was like, it's kind of hard moving between Bear River and Box Elder, but they like gave points of view different, like having 2 different board members. But then there's another one that I don't remember where she was from, but she was over 3 different schools by herself. And she like kind of gave me her perspective on it, and so just hearing the different ways that different districts do it was really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. thank you. We'll have to talk, and you can let me know if, like, talk to any of us and let us know if there are things we can do differently. Okay? All right. So the training, read those board policies, make sure we're up to date on those 10, 34, 35, and 36. Get that done. And now we're moving on to the consent items.
I make a motion that we approve the consent items.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on that motion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Suggestions for future board meetings. Brian, you mentioned the AI.
Yeah, so I went to the, there were 2 AI classes, one for board members and one for districts, focused more on, I mean, they were all for board members, but, so Ogden School District has spent about 2 years working with the state, creating their AI plan. I was speaking with a colleague of mine at work, and he was talking about his concern. He was watching a podcast or something that was claiming that kids were coming out of school using AI, and then they don't know how to do anything because they have AI to do their homework and do their. I think that's kind of far out there, but the point is that AI is, if you watch the news, it's all over. It's anticipated to impact us as much as internet, cell phones, and so we ought to get ahead of it and have, start establishing. They don't call it, the Ogden School District didn't call it a AI policy. It was an AI framework is what they called it. And so rather than us spending 2 years reinventing the wheel, why not, contact them or other districts in the state that are doing it and see if we can take what they've learned and done and adapt it for us. We know that it's coming. We know that it can be of benefit to teachers and to students, but if not used correctly, and if we don't have good guardrails and things in place, it could be not a good thing. So I think we ought to put that on our agenda for future board meetings, that we find out, who is the right person to report on that and start working that as a district.
I think David Blake is. Dave and I, we've been working and gone to several conferences with Ogden, with Jordan, with several, and I would, whenever you want to do that, I think we could have Dave come in with kind of a framework and then get feedback, either, send it to a committee or however you'd like to do that. But I do agree, this policy is, since it's changing so quickly and rapidly, so I loved your, what are the guardrails? And just one more note of, go back to grading. ChatGPT can do all their homework all they want at Box Elder School District, because it's not going to help them on their assessment. But it might help them practice and think so that they can pass the assessment without that help.
Yeah. And they also talked about having teachers give students some training. This is where it's appropriate, and this is where it can benefit us, and here's where you don't use it, and make sure that we're working on this.
If you'd like to do that, I'll get with Dave and we'll get something ready to go, just as here's an introduction, and then maybe go into a subcommittee, and then maybe try to get something ready to go in the fall.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, any other future board meeting suggestions? Okay, upcoming events is USBA Day on the Hill. I think Marcy emailed us all and would like to know who's coming so she can arrange for that, correct? So get that to her as soon as possible. I have nothing from the board handbook today. I think those policies, the review of policies on J1 is good homework for us there. We now need a motion, a roll call vote to move into closed session for discussion of sale or lease of real property and professional competence of an individual.
Can I interject? Yeah. I think we'd like to go into closed session to discuss sale or lease of real property, and I know it's
and then come back.
And then come back out.
Okay.
And then make that motion, whatever it might be, and then make a motion to go back into closed session.
Closed session
Yes,
after.
for personnel.
Okay.
So I move that we go into closed session to discuss sale or lease of real property.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a roll call vote.
Stephanie D. Phillips, yes.
Brian Smith, yes?
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Motion passes, so we will move into closed session, then we'll be back for a moment, and then we'll do it again. Yes, we need a motion to move back into an open session.
I make a motion that we move back into an open session.
A second.
Okay, a roll call vote. Stephanie?
Stephanie D. Phillips, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
All right, that motion passes. All right, now we move back up to items number lettered. Thank you. G. Action items, G. G1 and G2. Let's start with G1. Do we have a motion? Everybody's trying to get back to their digital. Do you want me to make the motion?
I can't see it because mine shows an error.
An error?
Like
So
when I click
if you
on
go
it.
back to board book
Yeah, new board
and
book.
click on, it came,
Wasn't there an attachment?
yes, there is an
There is.
attachment. I've
And
got
I
it right
clicked
here.
on it and that's when I got an error, so maybe if I, let me look and
I've got
see.
it.
Can you refresh?
Can I make a motion?
Oh, I got it.
It's displayed up here now.
Got it?
Okay. Whoa, except it's on annotate. Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna get that off. Okay, so I move that the BSD Board of Education declares surplus property, declare as surplus the property located at 820 North, 100 East, Brigham City, Utah.
I second that.
Any questions or discussion to that motion? All right.
I have a discussion, just to reiterate that other school districts have cautioned us to look at reusing some of our buildings before declaring them surplus because you can't grow land or buildings.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes 5 yes and 1 no. To G2. Do we have a motion?
I can do it again if we have.
That would be great, Julie.
I move that the Box Elder School District Board of Education approve the superintendent, business administrator, and its real estate agent to enter negotiations with Brigham City for an exchange of real property for the purposes of securing a future school site.
I second that.
Any questions or discussion to that motion?
Just another discussion item, just to clarify under the terms we discussed in the closed meeting.
Do you want to amend the motion or?
Just make a note.
Okay. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We now need a motion to close this session and move into, no, go into closed session. Sorry about that.
For personnel.
I make a motion that we close the regular session and go into a closed session to discuss personnel.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, roll call vote.
Stephanie D. Phillips, yes.
Brian Smith, yes.
Tiffany Summers, yes.
Karen Cronin, yes.
Wade Hyde, yes.
Julie Taylor, yes.
Okay, thank you. No, we will adjourn in closed session.
Yep. So what we're saying is you can all go home now. You don't have to go. I think probably go in there. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Is that the song?